At night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling them wrong. You got me like, oh yeah. I think that we've all had enough. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling them wrong. You got me like, oh yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling them wrong.
Nobody is coming to save you. Get up. Be your own hero.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. Good to see everybody again this evening. Once again, I want to remind everybody, please be sure to subscribe to the Rumble channel. Last night's stream was blocked in some regions and in some countries for whatever reason. Something about NBC or some shit. I don't know. Anyway, you can still see it on YouTube using a VPN. We still got almost 800 views regardless of the blockage, which who cares, right? Wasn't that great of a stream, I don't think. I mean, we had some good points in there, but we really expected Luma Tommy to blow the lid off of something, and he really didn't. In fact, it just spawned Flow State, who was co-hosting with him, to make a video on what a fucking wiener he is. So I thought that was kind of funny in that respect. But anyway, it was kind of a nothing burger. If you want to go back and watch it, use a VPN, go to my Rumble, which should be right here in the little scroll going down there. Username SSUM369. We're live there. We also have my backup channel, which is clickable from the main page of this channel of Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. It's called Sov's Place. Make sure you are subscribed there. Okay. Not a Nick Bolt sighting. Can't have that. So we've got a good amount of people. Geez, almost 50 people already. Let's go over here to the let's see who we got with us here tonight with the Sovereign Soul main channel. We got Anson Howard is with us tonight. Good to see you, my friend. Bogman Alcirid. Am I saying that right? I hope so. Bogan. 2 vowels makes it a short consonant. It's Bogan Alcirid. I'm going to try it like that. Bulgy Gooch. It still fucking cracks me up every time I say that one. C4 Duke. Kerry Skates. Good to see you. Chicago Cubby Bear. All right. Gray Eagle. Keith Maskell. Phoenix Nemesis 138, push button 62. Good to see you, my friend. Saddle Bums here, home somewhere in time is with us. T Baggins, the producer Moose. Valley Parks, and somebody slipped in there. It was Gray Eagle, I think. It was indeed. Can't slip one by the old sob. Let's see who's on the backup. Not a whole lot of people, but that's all right. It looks like I see undoctrinated. Renee Bernays is over there. Yabba Dabba Doo is with us as well. So good to see you all. And like I said, everybody, make sure you go over to the backup channel and the Rumble channel and subscribe. That way we'll be able to go over to some other platforms and talk about some taboo subjects that we're not allowed to talk about here on this wonderful, fair, and balanced platform that we seem to be drawn to so heavily. We need to change that. So anyway, on other notions, the title of the thing, I watched a video today, and I'll grab it up and get the link for you of let's see, I'm trying to remember what the name, Mind Shock channel. The Mind Shock channel did a analysis of the Caleb Fight the Flat Earth debate, and let me tell you something. Wow. I need not really tell you that Craig really did poorly in the debate, but the analysis of it was amazing. I think what the final tally count was, I think it was 187 logical fallacies that were used by Craig, as opposed to 2 that were used by Caleb. And Caleb also got a bunch of zingers. So I'll bring that up and I'll show you some highlights of when it was just like, God, Craig was just talking, and it was just like you see the counter going ding, 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 ding. He also takes a long time in this video to break down this bullshit of a red shift, blue shift thing. And that was slightly covered in that debate. And he really broke that down really well too. So I will get a hold of that here in a minute and show it to you all. Let me see. Another thing too, we did a thing on the nukes the other night. And as I said, we have a link. It's up pinned in the top of the chat. So anybody that wishes to come on up, feel free, absolutely. But this was sent to me by a master machinist, Bear, as he's known in some forums. And this is regarding atomic bomb findings due to, well, here, I'll just bring it up. Okay. This is by a guy named Anders Bjorkman. And I guess he is a Iowa company, European Agency for Safety at Sea. So let me bring this up. This is really quite interesting. There it is. Bingo, bingo. Is that big enough for y'all to see, or you want me to just go, let's go full screen like that? Okay. You can all still hear me, right? You can all still hear me even though my face isn't up on the screen? Cool beans. So let's see. The second meeting of state parties to the Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was held from 27 November to the 1st of December 2023, United Nations headquarters in New York. United States, the Russian Federation, Sweden, etc., did not attend. The attending parties, mostly nonsense countries and NGOs, declared as usual. Okay, 8. And it says nuclear risks are being exacerbated in particular by the continued and increase in salience of an emphasis on nuclear weapons in military postures and doctrines, coupled with the ongoing qualitative modernization and quantitative increase in nuclear arsenals and the heightening of tensions. We cannot stand by idly while signs indicate that humanity is moving closer to global nuclear catastrophe at this dangerous inflection point. All right. That former U.S. Secretary of State, Dr. Henry Kissinger, died at age 100 on 29 November 2023 during the meeting, wasn't noted. They didn't even say anything about it. Kissinger was known as advisor to 12 U.S. presidents from JFK in to Biden, having written his book, Nuclear Weapons and Foreign Policy, about appeasement or military violence, including nuclear attacks. Kissinger was the inventor of the small tactical nuke weapon against enemies of all kinds in lieu of solid multiple TNT tons Hiroshima Nagasaki type bombs to wipe out complete cities, but always recommended napalm carpet bombing on Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria in lieu of serious nuclear attacks. Kissinger had committed many war crimes and crimes against humanity during his long life, so he was better forgotten at this meeting. Kissinger actually knew, starting in the 1950s, that nuclear weapons were a hoax since 1945 that couldn't explode and harm anyone. In my opinion, he was an asshole. This is really pretty good. As Secretary General of the United Nations, however, still believed nuclear weapons can explode. It seems he cannot or hasn't read below. 2 atomic bombs had exploded over Japan. Okay. In August, let me just stop down here. I don't need all that. All right. In August 1945, the world was told by radio, newspaper, and media that 2 atomic bombs exploded over Japan and destroyed in big flashes lasting seconds only 2 towns, there immediately killing thousands of innocent Japanese civilians. That was all good thing. The World War came to a sudden end and no more wars, no more killing. We were also told that some German physicians had discovered fission in the 1930s and that Nobel Prize physics winner Albert Einstein had told U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt that fission could be used in a bomb to destroy a complete town, and that FDR had personally decided to secretly spend U.S. dollars of $2 billion in 1940 to 45 to build 2 such bombs at Los Alamos, New Mexico, assisted by Nobel Prize physics winner Niels Bohr of Copenhagen and hundreds of other experts. Imagine that. The Manhattan Project. It employed nearly 130,000 people. It cost nearly $2 billion US dollars, equivalent to about 24 billion in 2021. Imagine that. Research and production took secretly place at more than 30 sites across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. It was all secret, top secret. Only a handful of people like FDR, Einstein, and Bohr knew what was going on. The project led to the development of 2 types of atomic bombs. Neither type could explode. I once asked Mr. Bohr why he didn't know. The bombs had then secretly, July 1945, been transported to an island outside Japan and loaded into 2 airplanes piloted by brave American pilots that dropped the bombs on Japan. In other words, 2 towns there, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent Japanese civilians. And they were of no military value, none whatsoever. Okay. Actually, it never happened. I described the biggest hoax below. So let's start with some real good news. Nuclear weapons, nukes, are just nonsense propaganda since 1945. Okay. But here are some really sad news. Oppenheimer is a movie in 2023 about the clowns that faked the atomic bombs. Okay. The filmmaker, writer, director 2023 is Christopher Nolan. He has understood or is paid to promote the lies that atomic bombs exploded in 1945 and that Oppenheimer was just a big Hollywood actor in a show to quickly end World War II. You'll have to, some of these grammatical errors, this was translated from Swedish or Norwegian or some shit. Okay, so Nolan missed the chance of his life in 2023 to show the world how the world was fooled in 1945. Oppenheimer was just an actor to play in a show how he made the A-bomb, and Christopher Nolan is 2023 paid to promote the 1945 lies. We are really living in crazy world 2023. And I truly, this is no shit. I've been trying to tell people this, but it's hard to, especially like we showed the other night with that propaganda type of movies and shit that they put out. That day after 1983 movie was really quite shaking for a lot of people. So he says, He says, how do I know this? I, like you, was told at school that nuclear weapons killed people in 1945. That's what we were all told. We showed that picture. We all know the plane's name was the Enola Gay. And we know that, it was George, what was his name? Tibbets that dropped it, some shit, I mean, all this stuff that surrounds it, all these names and everything. And it's a big story, right? And we would like to claim that that was what ended the war in the Pacific, when in reality, it wasn't. It was the Russian invasion of Manchuria that changed the tide of that for the Japanese and caused a surrender. It's okay. So, examples are Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in 1945. 2 U.S.-made atomic/nuclear bombs were dropped on the towns. The towns and many of their inhabitants, mostly civilians, were then killed in 2 sudden flashes. But it never happened. Neither bomb existed. They were just Hollywood movie fantasies. The Japanese towns were simply napalm carpet bombed, and some local people were killed by napalm fires. The rest was U.S. fairy tales propaganda. And these were wooden and bamboo cities that they firebombed incessantly over a period of a couple of weeks. And it's, of course they look devastated. But how do I know this, you ask again? I didn't watch this shit until 1965, but I just visited Nagasaki and Hiroshima and their atomic bomb peace museums and met some survivors there later on the job. I found out I had been fooled by the US and Russia propaganda. And much later, in 1999, I met a person whose father had assisted Stalin to copy the US hoax and explode a USSR fake atomic bomb in 1949. It was another show. I explain all below. U.S. and USSR, Russia in 1940 conspired that nuclear bombs were real. And the show goes on 80 plus years later in 2023. Nuclear weapons are not listed on the Wikipedia's list of conspiracy theories. Try to add it. Here is more to my friend Thomas Judge, who's got the nuclear weapons host, and I'll bring that up in a moment. It's a very well-written book, and I'll put the link up to that. Let's see here. The START II treaty was a bilateral treaty negotiated by the United States, Russia, and signed by Bush and Yeltsin on January 3rd, 1993. It will reduce the number of strategic delivery vehicles, in other words, nuclear ballistic missiles and heavy bombers of nuclear bombs, and the number of warheads deployed on them. On February 21st, 2023, President Putin of Russia announced that the treaty was suspended. Reason is obviously that the whole treaty was a fraud from the beginning. See, and they try to paint it like, oh, he just wants to be able to have a whole bunch more, right? Atomic bombs have never worked or exploded anywhere since 1945. They were U.S.-Japan government's false flag operation in 1945 to quickly end World War II and cannot be used today. Nuclear weapons were in 1945 and our 2023 are just fake news and propaganda. Imagine how easy it has been to fool the whole world with nuclear bombs that never existed nor exploded during 78 years. So let's see. We don't want to get down here to where he explains to why. Russia supplies Japan with Siberian oil and gas, and Japan supplies Russia with all it needs except arms. While Japan denies any joint business at all to keep the USA happy, it is very simple. Russia and Japan are good neighbors since 1945 and earlier. That Japan once attacked Russia at Port Arthur in 1904 was forgotten. The greatest nuclear weapons power in the world was the NATO alliance. The fundamental purpose of NATO's nuclear capability is to preserve peace, prevent coercion, and deter aggression. As long as nuclear weapons exist, NATO will remain nuclear alliance. NATO's goal is a safer world for all. We seek to create the security environment for a world without nuclear weapons. I always wonder what the whole purpose of NATO is. Who is going to attack NATO? And why does NATO inform that it has nukes? NATO promises peace and protection to its members since 1949, and my country, Sweden, yeah, I was right, is apparently asking for NATO membership in 2023 with its fake nukes to be put in Sweden. Some idiots believe that Russia will attack Sweden with nukes. There is no evidence for it. Why would Russia invade Sweden? Because Russia attacked Ukraine in 2021? Strange. I thought Ukraine was part of Russia since before 1780 and was never an independent European country. Imagine what NATO invents to get new members. Isn't it better to close NATO completely? And I agree 100%. We don't fucking need NATO. Okay? We really don't. I mean, it's ludicrous. And it's like without the US, there is no NATO. You got to understand that. Without the US, there is no NATO. The really bad news. Let's see, what does he say here? Both the war in 2022 in Ukraine and the nuclear threat in 1945 are fake and always have been. The nuclear fake is now being used to cover up the vaccine, in 2019 and try to protect a pharmaceutical company and other parties from lynching. Now, I don't know. There's a lot of people saying that shit. You know, we've got a lot of countries that are opening up investigations and lawsuits and all kinds of crazy shit about that. Let me see something here. So this whole thing right here, I'm going to give you the link to it, but this is beautiful right here. This is a very long report. The Russian atomic bomb manipulation falsifications. This is my finding about 100% fake US, Soviet, UK, France, North Korea, etc. atomic bombs and fake nuclear weapons in general. Based on evidence, personal research, moving around the world, meeting people involved in the fakery and common sense. That's the thing, too. If you start looking at actual world events and things like that, look at old newspapers and not just the US, other places, too. You know, use Google Translate if you need to, but you'll find out quite a bit. Like if you look at 1940 and 1941, you will see how we were continuously poking the bear with Japan, trying to get into World War II, literally trying to get into World War II at Churchill's behest. But we here in the United States, the popular opinion was, fuck that, man. We've already been over there fighting their war. The shit on that again. That was terrible, right? Wow. So yeah, do a lot of the part one starts below. It's about the crazy people and organizations creating the lies and manipulations. Links to the other parts of my report are also below. So we've got part one. Look, here's some of the pictures it's got from it. This is a picture of the Aobashi Bridge at Hiroshima, with walking bridge to the Memorial Park, taken on the 6th of October, 1945. The fake A-bomb exploded just above it, 6th of August, 1945. Soon after, the trams were running over the bridge, were up and working again, and you could walk to the island where the Memorial Park is today. But all the wooden housing with gardens were burnt down by napalm carpet bombings. Only concrete buildings survived, but most house owners were soon back and cleared their grounds. So this bridge, it's right over where it exploded. Boom. You know what? See, this is just a lot of horse shit that they fed us. And here it is today. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put this link for this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in here. And I'm also going to put it in the description of tonight's videos. Let's see. I'm going to put this, paste. Oh, that's right. Hang on one second. Hang on. I won't be able to. Well, I can. Okay. Oh no, it won't let me. They're not allowing me on the main channel to put links out that are outside of YouTube for some reason, because they don't like me. So over on Sav's Place, okay, I'm going to go over in there and I'll put it there. And fuck you, YouTube. We're going to get it out there anyway. So here you go, folks. I'm going to put that in the description on Sav's Place. It's over there. Okay. So anybody that wants to go and check it out, by all means, feel free. It looks like it's going to get into quite a bit on that, the treaties. And this is where you got to break it down. Who's involved? Why are they involved? What's really going on that brings it in? Why are these things fake? How do we know? This is going to give you all the information right here. So I encourage you all, really, go over here and check this out. I think it's great. Great information. Thank you, Mr. Master Machinist, my good friend. And he's on a path of enlightenment right now that is amazing from all respects. So I'm glad to see that he's doing. I'd like to know who invented cigarettes that don't burn. Sounds like kind of a stab in your own foot, if you ask me. You know? Now, see what they want. They want me to something about now. This why did that bring up an Amazon thing for Oppenheimer's Deadly Toys, the nuclear weapons hook? Kindle. Oh, the book, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Because I clicked on that. All right, so all those links are there in it. I hope y'all can check it out. Give it a. There's a lot of information there, and everybody, I want you to kind of go over that. I'm going to go over the rest of it the next couple of days, and we'll do another show on that stuff. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, show it to you guys, give you a link to it so you can go and check it out, and then we'll can get into some discussion on it. I think that would be awesome as hell. So let me take that away, and let me see if I can get over here into my thing. And I wanted to find that thing with Craig. There it is. There it is. So this was during the thing. This is a screenshot from it. I think this is funny as hell. Okay, so you can see that the logical fallacies are green and zingers are red. And you can see where we were at with that. And the dude that was that analyzed the debate was saying, he says, I don't know. He says, there's something wrong with that guy. He's talking about Craig. He said, there's something fucking wrong with him. He's got some kind of a mental deficiency of some kind of a mental disorder. And I have to agree. Somebody brought up to me recently about Ipanku eyes. And I'm looking into that. There might be a little bit to that, and that's interesting. And it's regarding how much of a white's above and below someone's eyes that show. And it can be kind of revealing if indeed there's some validity to it. And so I'm looking to see that, see if there is, but I want to see if that, if I can find the actual link to that. I know I had reposted that entire. Here it is. Here it is. You know what I could do? Open link in a new tab. There it is. All right. And this is where he. Let me get it started. These little fucking countdowns and shit. All right, go ahead. Down 0 forever. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right.
If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to Mind Shock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and today we are taking a look at literally the most requested logical analysis of a flat earth debate thus far. That of the young Caleb, KCD Industry, against Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. And obviously Caleb has quite a following, and he's been in touch. And actually Craig has also dropped in on some live streams on Mindshock. So I will set the stage here, as I have had contact with both of these individuals. One of them, a very bright young man who's actually passionate about logic and reason. Nothing to do with flat Earth. Let's forget about flat Earth for just 1 second here, because disclaimer for anyone new to the channel. These logical analyses have nothing to do with conclusions. Let me repeat that again, because I know there's going to be a lot of trigger gives. This isn't about the shape of the earth or what is or isn't true. This is about logical argumentation.
There you
So
go.
we will be, of course, counting the fallacies and explaining the fallacies. So what I find very interesting and inspiring is that people like Caleb actually care about logic and reason. Where, you know, a lot of people, older people, I actually don't know how old Craig here is. Now, again, people can call me biased. This guy seems to have a mental disability. He's not very well versed in first grade English, obviously not the scientific method. Now, maybe he's gotten a tutor. And again, I'm not calling him wrong. Maybe he's completely correct about the shape of the earth. Maybe it is a spheroid of some kind. Maybe it does spin and maybe it does go around the sun. Let's not fall for the fallacy. Because even the mentally disabled, even crack addicts on street corners can be accidentally correct about things.
That's pretty rough, man. That's pretty fucking rough. But I mean, it's accurate. It's very accurate. But you listen to this, and we're not going to watch the whole thing. Don't worry, we're not going to sit here for 2 fucking hours and go through this. I just think it's funny when he gets up there and Craig starts talking, and it's just like you just hear that bell in that counter going ding, 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 ding continuously, man.
But here on Mind Shock, logic and reason rule the day. So we're just going to be taking a look as to what the logical process, if any, has been undertaken to establish whatever arguments are being made here by both sides. So we will see who's going to be talking about logic and reason, who's going to be talking about the scientific method, which of course would constitute dependent, independent variables and controls, and the manipulation of the variables, not to fall for the false cause logical fallacy, where one would hallucinate or assume that an alleged experiment, possibly not even scientific, proves X, Y, or Z, and not that it proves something else. Like, for example, a lot of globe earthers like to invoke the Cavendish experiment, Foucault's pendulum, as if it proves something, which obviously it clearly doesn't in either direction. But that is why it's very important to not just say, oh, science this, throw around science, because a lot of scientism cultists like Craig, they throw around, oh, science has proved, but notice how, at least not in any debate, I've never actually seen someone clearly delineate what was the independent variable, what was the dependent variable, what kind of modulation was done, what kind of variable manipulation was done against controls to clearly determine that the experiment was measuring what it purported to, that other variables didn't influence the experiment, and even if the result of the experiment is what it's claimed, is for the reason it is claimed. For example, an object falling to the floor. Is it really because of gravity and mass attracting mass, or is it because of another reason? And how is that determined? It's all about the how. And scientism cultists, if you notice, they never, ever address the how. So we are in for a doozy.
That's true. They like to confuse cause and effect. Like their bishop there, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who henceforth we will refer to as NDT. His whole thing is, oh, well, here's gravity, and he drops the fucking mic. Well, that's an effect of something you call gravity. When you invoke the idea of buoyancy and density, they like to show you the buoyancy formula. But when you break it down, it's weight due to gravity. That's what they say. Well, you could say weight due to unicorn farts. It doesn't matter. Weight. Okay. You're assuming what the weight is due to. So you try to slip gravity into it by doing that. No, there again, cause and effect. Okay. You're talking about an effect. What is gravity? Isolate the independent variable. Okay. Modulate the independent variable to determine that it actually even fucking exists. Okay. And then take this preposterous idea without any proof to it and try to ascribe this magical phenomenon to other celestial objects that you can't reach, touch, examine, nothing. You make an observation and determine that that is the cause. That is the fucking most ridiculous ass shit that I've ever heard.
Caleb's got quite the following, and he's actually been in contact for a bit, and he really wanted me to cover specifically this one, and a lot of his followers wanted me to cover specifically this one, and I'm going to take one for the team because, again, Craig from Fight the Flat Earth. So notice how it's not fight disinformation, fight scientism to determine truth. It's specifically fight the flat earth. So if flat earth is true, I'm not alleging it is, but clearly Craig has no interest in truth or real science. And even his name, his moniker betrays that for anyone who's unclear on that. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to argue scientifically and logically, although I'm not expecting that based on his humiliating performance in the Mind Shock chat, because he actually dropped in a few analyses and spewed nothing but faith and fallacy and misunderstanding of the scientific method. So I hope, since his humiliation, not just in the Mind Shock live chat, but this guy gets obliterated in literally every debate I've ever seen.
And that's true as hell. And it's got to be quite humbling to have this young guy come in there and just fucking rip you up like he did, not be intimidated by your antics, and a lot of people do. They get intimidated by their antics and shit and their little, the way they talk and shit. Fuck them. Listen to what they're saying. They're not saying anything. Okay. They're not saying anything. Well, we've measured the gravitational constant. You mean you measured how fast shit falls? Big fucking deal, man. What's that got to do with anything? There again, effect, not cause. Dipshit. Change the medium. Now what? Change the medium. What is weight? God. It gets tiresome. And it's sort of like, so just by volition of his name, Fight the Flat Earth, shows that he's not open to anything at all, So what's he do when his beloved priests have to change the story and say, oh, well, the moon is in the Earth's atmosphere. Oh, wait a second. So that means our atmosphere extends out past 250,000 miles? Is that what you're telling us? Do you have any proof of this? No, of course not. An atmosphere. How does gas have a fucking shape? Unless it's in a container. And then it takes the shape of the container. Come on, man.
So hopefully he's actually studied. Hopefully he's actually gotten a tutor to explain at least the basics so he doesn't completely humiliate himself here. And I know Caleb was interested in an audit, obviously, an independent, logical, objective, and neutral analysis of his argumentation. So we will see here, how many fallacies is he going to commit against Craig? Again, just to reiterate, this isn't about the conclusions. It's not about the shape of the earth. It's about the arguments. As always, if you find the Mind Shock podcast interesting and informative, you can help support Mind Shock. Donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description.
Well,
Make sure
right
you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notifications. If you're still not getting them, just like and comment on more videos. That's how
let me put this in the chat. It's a good channel. So I'll put it down here in the chat. And this is to this debate, but Mind Shock is pretty good. He breaks down these debates, and some of them, this ain't as bad as some of them that I've seen him have to debate, man, or have him analyze. I mean, there's been people in there up into the several hundred logical fallacies and shit. It's crazy.
The YouTube algorithm works. Also, check out our Bruce McGuire channel.
Not the
on YouTube. I will be uploading a lot of stuff there that is not going to go on the main Mind Shock channel, or depending on the order. Obviously, there's a lot of algorithm weirdness. I'm not going to blame it on censoring, but there does seem to be anomalies in the YouTube algorithm, so to speak. So,
you think? Look at Brian Stavely. They took 600 fucking views from him the other night right? And then turned around and gave me blocked in some areas for the fucking for music that Tommy was playing on his video's still up. You see, this algorithm or whatever the hell is running fucking YouTube is just stupid. It is. It is. It's monkeys fucking a football is basically what you got.
I may upload things on that channel or the Mindshock channel. Make sure you're subscribed to both.
Oh yeah.
And like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast, or requests. You could also be a guest of the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. All right. So
drunk.
let's get started here. This was hosted on journalism, and let's go through it.
Guys, how's it going? Are you guys ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. Just real quick, tell people who you are, where they can find you, and then we'll get right into it. Go ahead. Caleb, you start up.
My name's Caleb. You can find me on TikTok on 5 different accounts because of how censored I am. Caleb.fe is my main one. I also have Telegram. I'm also on X. But I'd recommend everyone find me on TikTok at Caleb.fe.
Awesome.
He's been catching some heat too because he's been saying some things that are deemed antiseptic. So,
Man, Craig.
Hey, I'm Craig. You can find me on
hey,
YouTube
truth
channel
is truth.
FTFE. You can also find me on the platform formerly known as Twitter, on Facebook, and all the good socials. I regularly debate flat earthers and do videos talking about science and physics.
The science and physics, or the scientism?
Exactly. He talks about scientism and then just be condescending toward people that talk about flat earth. Well, people, this look, this is what I've come to, man. And I truly believe it. I get such a creepy vibe, man, from this fucking guy, from McToon. Simon, I mean, they got some kind of a creepy ass fucking vibe about them to begin with, man. So I have to wonder, where are they getting these fucking guys, man? Anti-spheric. That's right. I like it, ZXL. You're pretty good, man.
That's the question here.
Okay, fantastic. And if you guys are used to the show, it has a structure that we're not going by tonight. We're just going to see if we can have a conversation without any need for a clock or anything. So we'll see how it goes. And then if we need to change it, we will. If you guys have questions that you want to have asked, if you send in a super chat on Rockfin or YouTube, we'll get to those by the end. So I believe they've already decided. Caleb, you're going first, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's all yours when you want. And you're going to be sharing your screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. Oh, I just that up. Just move some shit.
And if people are interested,
yes, they do. And a lot of them like to go for this thing with the little turd dollop hairdo, man. You're right, Barbara. They do. They always have that little fucking dollop on their head. And this guy, he's got these plugs in his fucking ears. He's going to regret that later.
interested in debating on the show, you can go to t.me/debatism on Telegram. There's a group there, people throwing their names in the hat and saying what they want to debate, or you can email us at debatism@outlook and get you scheduled, or you can just go to jeranism.com/debatism if you have
that bong kicks my fucking ass, man.
issues or questions about the format. Okay, Caleb, it's all yours. Go ahead.
Bet. Tonight we are going to be debating, is the Earth a level topographical plane, or is the Earth an oblate spheroid ellipsoid pair, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says? We're going to hopefully figure that out by the end of this debate. There we go. So what do our senses tell us? The default position is to assume that the Earth is flat because we feel no motion, simply because that's all we observe. We see a horizontal horizon no matter what altitude that we climb to. We feel no motion to the Earth, yet they claim we're moving over 1.2 million miles an hour through a vacuum.
This is why the globe is a ridiculous fucking claim, right? Is because against all experience and observation, you would never come to that conclusion. You would never even start to, if you're sitting there going, I wonder where I'm at. I wonder what this whole place looks like. right? You never come to the idea of a ball. Not in your wildest fucking dreams. Not at all. Yeah, we're going to take it up to, but I just want to show too, so you guys all know some of the things that we may say that could be construed as logical fallacies. Okay. So just pay attention for a minute and then we'll get up to Craig and you're going to see some fucking hilarious shit.
Cannot be substantiated due to the laws of thermodynamics and entropy. So this is the horizon. It's horizontal. It is an apparent location, not a geometric location necessitated by the radius and circumference claimed by the globe side.
Okay, so that's actually kind of curious. We're gonna have to go hasty generalization here because there are both people on the globe side and the flat side on both sides of this issue of geometric horizon, as in apparent versus true horizon. And this is actually a problem because it's actually kind of difficult to determine. I mean, on these subjects, I usually...
Yeah, I don't agree with him that that's a fallacy because that's the point. Because if you can't find a geographical horizon because of refraction or whatever other fucking reason, then where exactly did you get your R value from? You see, this is just part of it. And that's the point of bringing that up. Is the horizon physical or is it optical? Okay. Now, of course, somewhere it must be perhaps physical. But the horizon is always just an optical effect. It's where the sky meets the ground. You know, you get a longer field of view at a higher altitude, but you're still going to remain with the horizon in the central area of your visual area where you're looking. It's always going to do that. If you were on a globe, you would see the horizon start to drop below you. And eventually, at a high enough altitude, it would be well below you. But we don't ever see that.
I find it easiest to look at mirages like Fata Morgana, where ships look like they're floating, because obviously where the horizon appears to be is not where it really is. Now, flat earthers seem to understand that aspect of it, whereas a lot of globe earthers, especially the ones that believe that ships go over the curvature of the earth, and that's why you can't see them, completely ignoring the existence of waves. I mean,
well, what gets me is they don't even take into account this. They'll say, well, you can see a boat go over the curve of the earth. And you say, well, look, here's a picture from 120,000 feet, man. Look. Well, that's not high enough to see curvature. But you can be on the ground and see a boat go over the fucking curve. Get out of here with that dumb shit. You know, how can you have two things be true in your head at the same time when they contradict each other? I don't understand how that can be.
You really have goofs out there that think ships disappearing bottom up means something. I mean, waves obscure the bottom of any ship. Put a kayak in the water 2 feet in front of your face, and the waves are going to obscure the bottom of the kayak, especially if the waves are big.
We take this up here where Craig.
Obviously, I don't know if Craig here of Fight the Flat Earth is going to invoke.
Reflect back down to the earth. Anyway, there's no evidence for that. All long.
Do what he says. Hold on.
No way. Whatever. We'll skip it. It's all good. Anyway, he admits that the horizon is an apparent location that fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions and temperature differentials, which is reality. So you cannot say that any observation of the horizon necessitates that the earth is curving or that the quadrillions of gallons of water are convexing around the earth's surface. That's a begging the question fallacy. Anyway, long-distance laser experiments conducted by FE Corps suggest that the earth is flat. Plane surveying is a form of surveying which assumes that the earth to be flat for up to 10 square miles. Sorry, not it might be 100 square miles. Either way, I might be wrong on that. Marconi's successful propagation of a radio transmission over 2,000 miles across the ocean suggests that the earth is flat. It was horizontally propagated, And Globers, all they have to say is, oh, the ionosphere. Oh, it went up there and it bounced back down to the Earth. You just have to believe us. We have no empirical evidence to suggest this, but there's an ionized plasma part of the atmosphere which radio waves reflect back down to the Earth. Anyway, there's no evidence for that. All long distance observations made past the claimed radius and circumference of the globular Earth all suggest that the Earth is flat.
Okay, so that's quite the rabbit hole of which frequencies can bounce.
Right. So I agree with that because there are different properties for different frequencies and they react to different matter different ways. So I agree with that. There's Logan Sandman. When the fuck do I sleep? I don't know, when I'm tired, I guess. You know. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And off what? So, yeah, that's actually a tough one. And I don't know about no evidence. There is some evidence. I mean, they're bouncing signals off the moon. Is the moon okay? So that's another issue because
But that's a whole thing too. The Russians were bouncing the signals off the fucking firmament or the moon before they ever fucking went up there and put their little magic mirror, their mirror on the moon. mirror on the moon. Please show us a picture of a cartoon.
the moon now within the Earth's atmosphere, because the scientism cult they keep changing
That's what I'm
that.
saying,
So
yeah.
lately it was reported
These
that
guys.
the moon is within the Earth's atmosphere. So it's kind of where the ionosphere exactly begins and ends is another question mark. And how is this all determined? So let's not rule out the possibility that certain wavelengths can be bounced off something. Now, whether you want to call it the ionosphere, whether you want to call it the dome, there might be some kind of bouncing possible. Obviously, it needs to be definitively proven. And there's
Does anybody even realize what the spread of a laser over 250,000 miles? Do you know how big that would be and how weak it would be? 250,000 miles. Think about it.
there's so much conflicting information actually on that out there. So I think Caleb just went hasty generalization there again.
So either way, let's keep going. So I have three topics that I'd like to talk to Craig about today. I'd like to talk about the horizon and whether we can substantiate that the Earth is curved from looking at the horizon. I'd also like to talk about whether the Earth is in motion, up to him if we go down this route. But as we can see here, Michelson-Morley experiment, they expected a fringe shift to pick up the 30 kilometers per second assumed rotation or orbit around the sun. This conclusion, well, this is what he said after the experiment was done. This conclusion directly contradicts the explanation, which presupposes that the Earth moves. Every experiment in the history of mankind has substantiated this exact same statement, showing that the Earth is not in motion at all, not even 1 mile per hour. Here is a couple quotes.
Okay, hold on a second.
So I'm going to take this time
So
to
I also like that Caleb was basically quoting as opposed to.
I want to go over the difference between Newtonian and Einsteinian just for the audience, because a lot of Globers get this messed up. Newton theorized that gravitation is a result of mass acting on mass at infinite distances instantaneously. He had no time variable in his equations, so this must be assumed. This was a huge flaw in his theory, hence why we have Einstein come about.
And what a lot of people actually also don't address is that even Newton, if you look at his writings, I think I had this up on the screen. Obviously, Austin Whitsitt has brought this up as well. Even Newton didn't claim. He actually claimed that anybody who believes that mass would attract mass by virtue of mass alone wasn't of sound mind or mental faculty, or how he put it, which is actually curious. And all the scientism cultists worshiping at the Church of Relativity or whatever, they
somebody was it the Truman Show says, where in the world is Nick Volt and who in the fuck cares?
completely ignore all of this. It's quite curious.
About in 1915, which wrote the general theory of relativity, which explains gravitation as the fourth dimensional fabric called space-time, again, becoming warped in the presence of matter, creating gravity wells, causing planets and other celestial bodies to orbit.
Daniel, I have heard that Nick actually likes to watch FTFE with no pants on. So I don't know. It's what he told us one night.
I'd like to read this quote from Nikola Tesla.
And yeah, just real quick regarding Einstein, if you haven't checked out Einstein's Relativity Debunked here on Mind Shock, I go over Run Z Cow's complete dismantling of Einstein's so-called theory, most of which he might have plagiarized anyway, as well as a couple other explanations for gravitational waves. And a lot of these experiments you can do yourself with magnets, so there's no need to grasp desperately in blind faith to these scientists and priests and lab coats, because the basics of physics, if you could usually demonstrate most of them with very, very simple experiments yourself.
Absolutely. And what they do is they've got you hijacked in your mind, okay? They've got your fucking mind hijacked to a point where you are programmed to accept certain degrees of authority, certain positions. Different suits are different things, right? And just watch in a hospital setting or something how differently people behave when the doctor comes in. They almost revere the doctor as some kind of a godlike figure, right? Same thing with a cop. What is the difference between you and a cop? The cop's got this fucking suit. He's just a dude, man. And most of them aren't real bright. Now, there are some, but in recent years, they've been hiring, they're really getting some bottom of the barrel shit. That's for real. And it's a shame because we're the ones that suffer for it. We've got retards out there with guns and authority, or assumed authority, thinking they have authority over people that they don't. That's a crazy fucking combination to have. But anyway, I digress.
Wonderful guy. I hold that space cannot be curved for the simple reason that it can have no properties. It might as well be said that God has properties. He has not, but only attributes, and these are of our own making. Of properties, we can only speak when dealing with matter filling the space. To say that in the presence of large bodies, space becomes curved is equivalent to stating that something can act upon nothing. I, for one, refuse to subscribe to such a view. Great guy. Great quote. Space doesn't exist. Also, though, this is another topic. The direct antecedent to gas pressure is a container. To have a contained gas pressure system with PSI that's measurable, you have to have a container. So,
and this is what I say right at the basics. Okay. Bullshit. You got gravity holding a fucking gas. Gas gives fuck all about gravity. Gas pressure gives a fuck all about your downward vector. And you can cry gradient all the hell you want to, but the reality is we don't feel a downward pressure of the gas. We don't measure a downward pressure of the gas. We measure pressure due to displacement. Okay, and it's equal at all points of the object displacing. Okay, that's all there is to it. That's why you can't go, too deep underwater without getting crushed. All right. Same reason you can't go too high in altitude or you'll explode. It's all about pressure, man. We live in a dynamic fluid pressure system. And without it, you couldn't exist. Without this fluid pressure system, without the air pressure, you couldn't have liquid water. Without liquid water, we couldn't have half the think about it. All right. It's a perfectly made, created place, thing, clock. You live on it. It's self-sustaining. It's alive, and you're part of it. Christ almighty, people just don't get it.
So we cannot have our magical atmosphere that has a PSI coexisting next to the vacuum of space, which is 10 to the negative 17 torr. That not only defies all the laws of thermodynamics and entropy, but it defies common sense. This is what we see here. These two systems, without a barrier in between them, would be seeking equilibrium with each other violently. That's all that we see in nature. I would love to see one reproducible experiment other than just saying the atmosphere, like Globey McGlobeface did and all these other clowns on TikTok. We have to have a container to have a pressurized system. You cannot have a vacuum coexist next to a pressurized system without them seeking equilibrium violently. They don't just coexist next to each other while we shoot through a vacuum at 500,000 miles an hour, 4.9 billion miles a year.
and still see the same constellations for 5,000 years or more. We still observe the fixed stars in their position in the sky. They go around, they tell us the seasons. I mean, going a 500,000 miles an hour and nothing, everything stays static like that, or it's all moving just perfectly so that it stays like that. Is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard anybody even try to run on someone.
Anyway, conclusion. The Earth is not convexing away omnidirectionally from every observer on Earth. It is, in fact, a level topographical plane with hills and valleys. The Earth is stationary, as every...
Can say it all in one sentence, all in one phrase. The Earth is a stationary, level topographical plane contained within a dynamic fluid pressure system. There it is. Boom.
Every experiment of the history of mankind has shown it to be. The vacuum of space cannot coexist next to the pressurized atmosphere due to the laws of thermodynamics, entropy, and common sense. And I will end there and let Craig do his presentation.
All righty. Thank you much.
No problem.
Craig, it's on you.
Get ready for the dings.
Wherever you want to go. Craig, you're not on camera. There we go. You're on mute.
There we go. Sorry, I had myself muted, so I didn't make any noise as well. Caleb was talking.
Thank you.
Right. So a lot of notes there from what Caleb said, but we'll discuss that after my points. Straight away, one of the things I want to talk about is the Foucault's pendulum. There is no evidence that suggests the Foucault's pendulum doesn't do what we suggest. In fact,
right out the fucking gate, man. Right out the fucking gate. And it's a shame, I guess he didn't know he was muted as he was doing his analysis of that logical fallacy, but no evidence that it doesn't do what we predict it to do. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? It doesn't do it's never consistent. It doesn't do anything. That's why they're never working. They're always shut down at the thing. Come on, man. Get it on. Get it on.
Caleb makes a very big thing about following the scientific method, even though there isn't just the scientific method. But if we want to talk about, say, the scientific...
What? There isn't just the scientific method? Well, nobody's saying the scientific method's the only concept in the history of existence. Well, what is this guy talking about? Or there isn't just the scientific method. Like, well, what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? Like, if you're talking science, how can you be, if you're just grasping at faith and fallacy, that's scientism, not science.
Right.
Science is a methodology. In order for it to be scientifically valid, how can it be scientifically valid without following the scientific method? I mean, it's kind of what a weird thing to say. I mean, after he set this kind of stage, making it clear that he's all about the scientism instead of the science. I mean, I guess I don't know, man. This is going to be rough.
Method we learn at high school, basic 5 steps, observation.
He only learned the scientific method in high school? What kind of special ed classes did this guy go through that he only got to the scientific method in high school?
Oh shit, man. And it's like this guy, I love this. This is beautiful, man.
I mean, I guess that'd be explain a few things. I guess I'm a little surprised he even got to high school, but if it's all special ed, I mean, I guess that's, wow, this is rough.
Hypothesis, prediction, experiment, analysis, repeat, etc., then
notice how he completely glossed over, or I guess he doesn't know about the absolute basics in terms of testing with an experiment and what makes the experiment valid. Again, dependent variables, independent variables, and controls. Notice how he didn't talk about that at all. Now, is that on purpose because he's not being honest, or is he just in all his special ed classes, he never actually got to dependent, independent variables, and controls, so he doesn't know about them? Is that why he's always spamming these false cause and false dichotomy logical fallacies?
That's exactly what they do. And you can nail them on gravity with this shit. I mean, you bring up fucking Cavendish. Bring that up. Bring that up. That is such a fucking dumb shit thing in the whole world. I mean, there's none of that. None of that used. None. What's your independent variable? What did you modulate? Did you take and, okay, let's increase these fucking weights and see if they come together faster, right? Does that increase it? Does that increase this attractive force supposedly? Get the fuck out of here. And half the time that experiment doesn't even work, man. I've seen people fucking wanting to rip their hair out trying to set the goddamn thing up.
Man,
Foucault's pendulum follows that. So you can make an observation of anything like the stars moving, in a particular pattern, or the sun going across the sky. That is a simple observation. You can form a hypothesis from that. You can either form a hypothesis of the stars and sun are moving, or you can form a hypothesis that we're moving. A hypothesis is just an educated guess. And then you can make a prediction based on your hypothesis. And if the hypothesis is that the Earth is rotating, then that's going to mean certain physical things are happening, like a Coriolis force being applied.
Oh, wow. So he
What?
started the fallacy stack early.
Yeah, where does he get that? That there'd be... Okay.
With all these circular reasoning, false cause, false dichotomy, logical fallacies. And again, is anybody surprised that this guy is just not mentioning dependent variables, and controls, and the modulation of variables in order against the controls in order to prove your hypothesis true or false? Notice how he doesn't even mention it. Now, again, is that because he never got to it? So he only got to the scientific method in high school and his special ed classes. So he never actually learned about what a valid experiment is. Is that why he's saying that? I mean, I guess that would explain it. Or is he being intentionally dishonest? But why would anybody, I mean, I've posed this question before. Why would some of these globe earthers, like some of the biggest flat earth recruiters ever, like this guy, Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, he's probably made a lot more flat earthers than any other flat earther.
That's what I've said. I've said that to these guys. I'm like, you are probably making flat earthers every time you make a fucking video. Every time. Especially that fucking chomo looking bastard Sean Hawkins. Jesus, criminally. That where do they dig these fucking guys out from, man?
Through his silly defenses here. But why would he humiliate himself like this on purpose if he was intellectually dishonest? Unless we go down the rabbit hole, this is all a psyop. He's getting paid money by the CIA to humiliate himself like this, and he doesn't have any self-esteem, so he's accepting the money, so he doesn't care if he looks like a complete and utter goof.
Let's hear that just a little bit again. 3836. Let me just, this is very interesting. Listen to what he says here.
Through his silly defenses here. But why would he humiliate himself like this on purpose if he was intellectually dishonest? Unless we go down the rabbit hole, this is all a psyop. He's getting paid money by the CIA to humiliate himself like this, and he doesn't have any self-esteem, so he's accepting the money, so he doesn't care if he looks like a complete and utter goof. But if he is being honest and he simply has a mental disability and people are just indulging him and allowing him to humiliate himself by performing in these debates, I mean, that's kind of sad. I mean, that's definitely kind of sad. But again, yeah, notice how there's no mention of dependent variables, independent variables, or controls.
And that's part of the scientific method. It's very important because how do you rule out that? How do you actually determine that this thing you call gravity? I mean, and I love how they slip it in right into the buoyancy formula. You say, oh, well, weight due to gravity. Well, wait, how do you know that the weight's due to gravity? Weight is just the relative density of an object within the given medium. That's it, man. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. Thank God, right? Because rockets won't work in a vacuum either. We've shown that.
And if that's the case, then we can make predictions, which would be the next step in the scientific method. And the predictions is that if we have a pendulum swinging from a point attached to a pivot point, then depending on where it is on Earth, as it swings, it will drift a different amount.
And would that amount be the same if the Earth was stationary and everything was going around the Earth? Again, going back to dependent variables and controls, which this guy either doesn't know about or is intentionally not bringing them up if he's dishonest. I mean, this ain't rocket science here.
It's the later. He's intentionally dishonest. Okay, they all are. Because as soon as I had somebody tell me, oh, that's not necessary. None of that is necessary because we observe the effect. I said, but what's the cause of the effect? Gravity. Okay. So that's your independent variable. Go ahead and modulate it so that we can actually determine that that is the cause. Can you show it? No, you can't. And then they always want to jump to that Cavendish bullshit. You mean that's the best you got from 1792? That's the best you got. Get the fuck out of here with your dumb shit.
I mean, this is simple stuff, but unfortunately, you see the same thing in all these flat earth debates where the scientism cultists, they never actually talk about real science and what separates a valid scientific experiment from an invalid one.
Look at Craig's already 9. Now, Caleb's was basically because this guy disagrees about the idea of the horizon. I like the idea of asking about the horizon being physical because that puts him in a corner. You see, that leads to walking him into the R value. You understand? But that's okay. A lot of people don't understand it. But 9 already right out the gates.
And this is an experiment that you can do, that you can test yourself.
Again, what are you testing and how do you know you're testing what you think you're testing? And if you're wrong, how would it look like otherwise? And how do you know that for sure against being right? That's where modulating the variables comes into play, which this guy doesn't know anything about, apparently.
The buoyancy formula, M-ball, you assume that the weight is due to gravity. Okay, it doesn't prove anything about gravity. You assume that the object has weight due to gravity. I could say weight due to unicorn cum. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay, it's weight. You assume that it comes from gravity. Basically, kind of you're right because the word gravitas, which means weight. So if we say things fall because of weight, yes, you're absolutely correct. Things fall because of gravity. Things fall because of weight. Yes. What is weight? Weight is the relative density per volume of an object within a given medium. Interesting. Buoyancy and density wins again. M-ball.
I did it when I was at university. In fact, so does every physics undergraduate and uses it to actually calculate your position on Earth.
Oh, wow. Appeal to popularity and appeal to authority. He's rolling those. I mean, this guy came out the gate like a faucet with the fallacies. Like
10-4.
a faucet.
10-4, man. He was like
very, very simple. This isn't me because I didn't record my physics degree.
And that's also a reductive logical fallacy by claiming something is much simpler than it is. And he rolled those into the black and white logical fallacies or false dichotomies where it can only be this. I mean, again, like this guy's got a pretty impressive stream of fallacies going.
That's the one I've told you all about too, where they always say this can only mean that. And it's like, no, that's not that it can only mean that. The one that gets me is this whole idea of, well, if you don't know, then it has to be this. Okay, so here's the deal. The sun is not, I know for a fact, is not a big giant ball of fucking nuclear hydrogen or whatever the fuck 93 million miles away. Okay, that is certain. No one would. How do you get a ball of gas to form in your void and all that other good shit? Where do you get a ball of gas to form any fucking place? Right? So then they'll ask you, oh, well, then what is it? Well, I don't know what it is. I know it's not what you're saying it is, though. Okay. It's a lot closer, obviously, but I don't know what the fuck it's comprised of. How would I know that? How would anybody know that? Okay. Then they're in their brain, it's like, well, then it can only mean that it is what I said it was because I have an answer for it. Well, you have a claim that's unsubstantiated by any real science whatsoever. So what the fuck? You don't really know either. And that's the reality of it. This is where they try to trap you. Let me give you an example. And suppose I found some adoption papers amongst my parents' effects, right? And it reveals that I was actually adopted. And I go to my friend, I say, hey, no, my parents are not my real parents. And so, well, how do you know that? And I said, well, I found these adoption papers. Huh. And he asked me, he says, well, who's your real parents? I say, well, I don't know. And he says, well, then those must be your real parents. That's the same fucking logic. But of course, these are the same people that to determine where they're standing, they look into the sky or at a toilet drain. That's fucking scientific, really. Come on.
20 odd years ago. This is a guy on YouTube called the Gentleman Physicist. And he built his own Foucault's pendulum in a high-rise building. And he let it swing for a certain amount of time. And over that amount of time, it drifted a certain amount of time.
What drifted? And how do you know that's what drifted as opposed to something else? Again, notice how none of this is ever addressed
Right.
by the side of the scientism cultists.
There were 41.
So we don't have any independent variables. We don't have anything that we're dealing with here other than a pendulum going back and forth. It swung. We thought it might do this, and so it did, and therefore hold on. That is not the scientific method. Okay? Holy sheep shit.
1 minute, it drifted, and you could measure the angle of the drift, do some basic math, figure out how much it would rotate in 24 hours, and then you can actually use that and calculate your latitude on Earth. So with nothing but a swinging pendulum, you can use the degree of the angle that it drifts to find your latitude on Earth.
And again, how if the Earth was completely stationary, would that look different?
And it works. The fact that it works, the fact that you can physically do this, it's a repeatable experiment. The fact that this can be repeated anywhere in the world by anyone with the right equipment, set up the correct way, you will be able to calculate your latitude on the planet.
Again, false cause logical fallacy, circular reasoning logical fallacy, fundamental lack of understanding of the basics of the scientific method. I mean, we're talking absolute basics here, and this goof doesn't even have them down. I mean, literally the absolute last person you would want discussing anything like this. I mean, again, if he has some kind of fetish for humiliating himself, then this does make sense.
And that shows that it matches the predictions of the hypothesis following on from the observation that based on the position on Earth, different Coriolis forces will be applied to a Foucault's pendulum.
And again, we've gone over the whole prediction nonsense many, many times. I mean, just because the Mayans all predicted the eclipses thousands of years into the future with their flat Earth cosmology, with their geocentric flat Earth cosmology, that doesn't mean their model is true. Just like psychics who, let's say I mean, we don't know whether they have psychic powers or not, but just because they accurately solve many cases, and for the clueless goofs who think they didn't, I mean, check out the Mind Shock podcast on psychics that solve cases. I went over dozens and dozens of cases. Now, that doesn't mean they did it by way of psychic powers. They may have guessed, they may have insider info from police, but the bottom line is hallucinating that prediction is equal to truth. I mean, this is a classic scientism hallucination.
And we find that they try to shift that shit into it quite often. I mean, almost always with all their scientism that they run at us. This guy, he just keeps the hits that keep coming with this guy. He's up to 32. He's up to 32 fucking logical fallacies that he's presented already.
Only the most clueless of goofs go by predictions because, anybody can make a prediction, whether or not something matches, especially when you don't have controls.
By times 24 hours divided by t, and then you find out your latitude on Earth, and they got 49.8, which was about within 1.4 degrees of where they are, which was pretty damn good considering the crude equipment used.
And would it be any different if it was simply the vault of the heavens circulating above? How would it be different? And you never hear any of these clueless scientism goofs discussing this, because then they'd actually have to address their blind faith in religion and scientism. And they would actually have to understand the scientific method, which they don't appear to, at least not the flat earth debates that we've seen, unless, of course, we're going to, those that believe that this guy's just playing stupid. He actually
What do y'all think that they actually do this for? I mean, do you think I'm onto something with that they're doing it to stay out of trouble? You know, that it's some kind of an agreement? Because I can't see the money being good enough to be that, you know, literally fucking hated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just can't see it.
does know the scientific method. He knows he's completely full of it, and he doesn't care because he's just a shill and he's getting paid. He's getting compensated so
32
well. He
bullshits
doesn't
per
care
minute.
that he's humiliating himself to this level. There are people out there. I mean, they'll do anything for money. I mean, even worse things than humiliating themselves with words. I mean, there's people in various industries just doing depraved things for money. So it's not a surprise that people do that. But for those that believe he actually isn't mentally disabled and he does have some kind of mental competency, I suppose that is an option. I'm not going to fall for false dichotomies myself. I don't really know which category this guy goes into. I don't know him personally.
You know, there again, he's questioning it too. It's like, why? What the fuck, guy? Right?
And
Oh my God.
that's called a margin of error. So the fact that this experiment can be repeated constantly on different positions on Earth. There's experiments recorded on in the South Pole where they did this, and you get the expected 24 hours showing 360 degrees rotation.
Man, this guy stacks fallacies with the best of them. I mean, I'm actually getting kind of impressed here with the flow of fallacies. I mean, how quickly he just stacked those circular reasoning, false dichotomies, and false cause fallacies on top of each other so quickly. I mean, I have to say, I was a little bit impressed there by that stream of fallacies. Quite impressive.
They were just streaming out. Look, he's got this little fucking NASA thing over here in the corner too. You see that? These guys are such fucking children. They really are. They're just such fucking children. Look at them.
I don't know if he's going to break Sartain's
39.
record. I mean, the champ's the champ for a reason, but we'll see.
The fact that it is a repeatable experiment matching the predictions shows that it fails to falsify that the Earth is a rotating globe. The Foucault's pendulum experiment is great because it doesn't only show that we're rotating, but based on the Coriolis forces at different points, you can map out the forces and the vectors, and you find that shows in itself that the Earth is also a globe as well as it being rotating.
Notice he didn't say how it showed that. He just did his verbal diarrhea stream of fallacies and demonstrating he doesn't
I like how he says that. Fallacies. I like how he says that, man. Fallacies.
understand
I do that pretty good. Fallacies.
independent variables, and controls. He doesn't understand false cause logic fallacies, false dichotomies, or circular reasoning logical fallacies. If he did, his presentation would look absolutely nothing like this. I mean, that's if there's a key takeaway point here for all of the objective listeners here who don't even care necessarily about the shape of the Earth, they just care about logical argumentation. That's the main point here. So regardless of whether he's correct or incorrect about the conclusion of the shape of the Earth, his so-called argument would look absolutely nothing like this if he had even a basic understanding of the scientific method and logic and reason.
Other ways that we can figure out that the Earth is a globe is surveying.
It's fucking 50. This guy's almost up to a fallacy a minute. He's past a fallacy a minute, man. I swear to God. And he's just getting warmed up.
And one of the things they do in surveying is something called measuring reciprocal zenith angles. So the zenith angle directly above you, 90 degrees, is your zenith. Okay. And if you set up two plumb bobs or theodolites at a different distance apart, you can see if those two plumb bobs are on the theodolites pointing straight up at your zenith are matching. If they point straight at each other and you measure the angles, If the Earth is flat, then you would get 180 degrees. If the Earth is a globe, you would get more than 180 degrees.
Wow.
Another thing about this too is that on X, formerly known as Twitter, Caleb had said he was going to get this channel. He was going to try to get Mindshock to do an analysis of their debate. And if he did, he said, prove that you won the debate by just whatever the guy comes up with. He says, I'll do it. He says, post this reaction on when he does it, post the reaction on your YouTube page and don't take it down. React to the reaction. And so I asked him about it today and sent him a link to this. And I said, so when are you going to do a reaction to this, Greg? And I haven't heard anything back yet. So that's what I'm finding is these guys are strangely quiet. McToon popped his head up on there the other day and I told him to shut the fuck up. He left. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, I'm noticing these guys are kind of staying. They're scrambling. They've looked really bad the last few weeks. I don't know. Maybe it's just me seeing it, but I think they have made themselves look really, really bad in the last couple of weeks. And Nick Volt really didn't help things, but I don't think he's counted amongst the Glober proponents. But see that he is proof of that shit will make you fucking crazy. Look how silly he acted on there. Come on here and he wanted to fly. Wanted me to pick him up at the airport so he could come here and kick my ass. That's what he wanted. I was like, you got to be shitting, bro.
I have to say that was impressive. That was one of the dumbest things I have ever heard on any flat Earth debate.
Hey,
I'm
Nick,
actually
how you
getting
doing?
kind of impressed with this guy. I mean, he's sinking to new lows that he might be able to compete with Sartain. I was so skeptical at the onset of this, but I don't know. Maybe his verbal diarrhea is obviously not as good as Sartain. Sartain can spew with the best of them. Like Sartain and Destiny, I mean, these guys are masters of verbal diarrhea, of just spewing fallacies in such rapid succession. I don't know. This guy doesn't seem to be as good. But the level of gopher he just sunk to at that point is so curious. I mean, it's just astounding. Like, I might have to fall for a logical fallacy myself here and appeal to incredulity. Because I'm not finding it difficult. And again, I'm admitting my fallacy here. I'm finding it difficult to believe this guy is not mentally disabled. Because
that's funnier than shit, man. I mean, it's like I find it hard to believe that this guy is not mentally disabled, and I'm like, yes, that's what I'm saying. I watch the way he kind of twitches around and shit, and he's like, I don't know, man, there's something wrong with his fucking ass. So yeah, that is Barbara, that is Nick. Yeah, a guy that you said Nick fan. Who is it? Here's this guy. Yeah. How you doing, Nick? You ain't got to hide. Everybody knows what a loser you are, buddy. Chili eating, you have mental problems. There you go. Look at there. He even stutters when he's drunk and types. Fucking
who would
loser.
think that? So regardless of the shape,
Stop
flat or
drinking, Nick.
globe, obviously the surface would not be perfectly 180. In either model. I mean, small children can understand this. I mean, there are mountains, there are valleys. I mean, even something appearing to be perfectly flat, obviously it's not going to be perfectly 180 degrees flat. Even if it's looks like a perfectly flat plateau, it's not going to be to the degree completely perfectly 180.
Right. It's a topographical plane, man. Okay. It really is. It's a level stationary topographical plane contained within a dynamic fluid pressure system. It's real. It's remarkable. And this guy here is a satanic little piece of shit. I'm sorry.
So his false dichotomy, false cause, circular reasoning nonsense stack here of fallacies. I mean, on one hand, he keeps spamming the same logical fallacy stack. And I'm sure he's not going to randomly stop. So we're probably going to be dealing with the same stack which I don't know. That might be disappointing just because I do like variety in the fallacies. Like Bryant Myers, I mean, he had quite the variety, and to a lesser extent, Sartain. This guy, I mean, it's the same stack he's been spamming since the beginning, and just not even a children's level. I mean, we're talking common sense here. I mean, just knowing that the existence of mountains and valleys and all of these things. I mean, even a desert, even a
They do too, and they always want to bring that up. That's the one that, who's that guy, Ruhif, was always bringing up. Come on, man. Fuck your theodolite, man. Show me some curve. Show me some actual fucking curvature that's going to equal 8 inches per mile squared. Go ahead, please. You can't do it. When you stop them at the basics, and you ain't even got to fucking go with curvature. You just show me how the fuck you have gas pressure without containment. That's all.
plateau, it's not going to be perfectly 180 degrees across miles and miles and miles. The Earth does not have an even surface, regardless of whether it would be a globe, whether it be a flat plane, or whatever model. In no model, like the only thing we could, I mean, I know the motto of the podcast is the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure, but we're not even really sure about that though, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, any logical mind shock listeners out there.
This is the thing about the dude, is he's constantly spewing the same garbage, and he slips shit in. You got to listen to this guy. He slips shit in on and thinking you're not going to notice. But this guy here picks it up. Mind shock picks it up. He's like, ding, ding, ding.
Any model of the Earth would not have a 180 degree flat surface across great distances, regardless of the shape. So you can say that water always finds its level, et cetera, but the land around the water, and he's talking about land surveying here, unless I misunderstood what he said. Are there water surveyors out there? I mean, I'm not aware of people surveying the ocean. If that's what he's talking about, he didn't specify. As far as land surveyors, I mean, I don't think there are any flat earthers out there arguing that the Earth is a perfectly even surface.
No, listen, this is the thing. Although flat is level, right? But flat can be vertical too. Okay. So what we got is horizontal, level, horizontal, plane. Okay. And like he said, it's not necessarily flatness, is more of a degree of finish to that level. You understand? If my master machinist friend in the chat or in the audience, maybe listening later or tonight, they know what I'm talking about, and that there is degrees of flatness. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for level. Okay, we are always level. Okay, it's a level topographical plane. Flatness. This guy's going, and over the course of 5 miles, we have this 0.006 degree deviance in our fucking plumb bob. Dude, how big is your fucking Earth? Good God. Should be a hell of a lot more than that.
And I don't think that there are any globe earthers arguing that. And I don't think that there are any concave earthers or realm earthers or any other type of earthers. I mean, even if this is all a holographic projection video game, it's still clearly not a 180 degree surface across great land distances.
Yeah, we get it, bro.
I did have the page up in 1 sec. If you go to
watch his mannerisms
and go to main
watch his
surveyor,
mannerisms.
And I know Caleb likes likes MC Toon.
Very
they had a
furtive.
couple of good conversations.
Jerks around like a fucking
one
bird
sec,
or
I'll get
something.
that screen up.
Maybe I just assume he jerks around like a bird because of that little crest up on his head. You know, like some kind of a fucking pigeon or some shit. I don't know. He really is a bizarre character. I think that the narrator, that's not really their voice. They have their own voice set up or some kind of shit.
And a couple of other qualified surveyors, Walter Bisland and Jesse Kozlowski, did their own measurements to check if reciprocal zenith angles is a thing. Here's a diagram explaining what they do. So if the Earth is flat, then these angles will sum up to 180. If the Earth is a globe, then there'd be more than 180. And the main surveyor went out and did a bunch of measurements, different elevations, following all the correct surveying methods. The survey determined that all the sum of the reciprocal zenith angles came to more than 180 degrees, which would say that the surface of the Earth is not flat, it is in fact curved. You can go and look at all the details of the survey.
I mean, again, even if the Earth is just
it's level. This guy, wow.
some large flat plane, it's still so-called curved, uneven surface. Why would it be expected to be flat? And notice how the goof doesn't actually explain how it would prove any of this, because obviously it wouldn't. None of these goofs ever go into the details of how it would prove that. They avoid dependent variables, independent variables, and controls like the plague. I mean, you'll never hear these goofs talk about, at least, I mean, maybe you would. Maybe in some debates they do. I mean, I've been sent dozens and dozens of debates. I have never seen a globe earther address these points, and most flat earthers don't either, to be fair. The smart ones do. I mean, Austin Whitsitt, of course. I mean, this guy's a master debater. I mean, this guy's one of the most logical individuals out there. I mean, forget the topic. Don't even care which topic he's arguing. I mean, this guy has logic down extremely well. I think he's better than me. I mean, a lot of Mindshock listeners actually don't think so, but that's just my opinion, which I don't even think is that humble. I'm just looking at it. I mean, this guy's like an encyclopedia of logic, physics, and history. And so he's obviously talked about it. I'm not sure how many other, there might have been one or two other flat earthers who did talk about that and modulating the variables so you would know what it would look like with different conclusions. Clearly that has not been done here. It's not partially curved. It's 100% curved. False, with false cause and circular reasoning right in tow there. He just keeps.
The thing, what I was saying though, just like I was saying, is that you flat and level, right? Something could be level and not necessarily flat. You dig what I'm saying? You can have a level roadway, right? But it's not necessarily flat. It's got little crevices and all kinds of shit in it. And, I mean, you gotta understand there's degrees of flatness, but that can also a wall is flat, and there's degrees of flatness for a wall. It doesn't necessarily mean it's level. So that's why it's level. Okay. Level Earth.
Spamming these same three fallacies ad nauseum. Yeah, I mean, we know what his favorite fallacy is.
Now, there's many measurements that back this up. You can look at historical measurements like the transcontinental triangulation, the American arc of the parallel, and all the other large-scale surveying operations that have been done throughout history to back up this curvature. You can
rope it in the reification logical fallacy, hallucinating that those are all legitimate just based on the amount that there are, and hallucinating that you don't have to clearly delineate all of the everything and all of the factors involved to show how it proves that. Because if somebody counted 5 unicorns and 5 unicorns 100 years ago, 200 years ago, if all these different companies counted the same amount of unicorns with perfect math, that must mean that the unicorns not only existed, but let's say there was a claim that they were flying over certain rainbows in a certain amount of speed, and then they calculated all the fairies, sprinkling fairy dust with the exact amount of particles and weight of all the fairy dust. It was all measured. It's all measured perfectly, and the math is all perfect, and all these different people throughout history all did it in different countries and different companies. Therefore, it all proves that, right? I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. I mean, this guy really does seem to be as goofy as they come. I just don't think he has the verbal diarrhea prowess that Mike.
See, no, this is bad. And I'm still waiting for him. Let me see if he's responded real quick. Let me just check my notifications and see if he's responded to me asking him if he's going to respond to it. No, just the same. Boy, I'll tell you what, that's another thing too on Twitter. The globe trolls they're really scraping bottom barrel for him now. They really are. It's getting rough. You can't even find one worthy of actually conversing with. But anyway,
Michael Sartain has to beat the fallacy count, but we'll see.
Look at
74.
all the measurements of the rotation of the Earth. In fact, there's a good list at mctoon.net/spin that all show that the Earth is rotating. Flat Earthers themselves have confirmed that the Earth is rotating. So the fact that there is measurements that everyone can do, it's repeatable, it follows the scientific method, showing.
Whoa! This guy just dropped the scientific method without knowing what it was. So now he's basically verified that his Dunning-Kruger's off the charts. So, well, that's the main staple of scientism. It's the hallucination and the pretending of following the scientific method when it doesn't. Because notice he hasn't been able to demonstrate a single time how any of these points how they adhere to the scientific method. He's just claiming they do with zero evidence of how they do.
Both curve and rotation only comes to one conclusion, and that is that the Earth is not flat, it is curved. And that's my time.
Okay, thank you very much.
87. Man. And this guy, every time I see him on anything, he's, this one was probably the most devastating for him. But everything I've seen him on, he does the same fucking little bullshit. And the worst thing is I know that him, McToon, they have somebody off screen that they're communicating with. Okay. I mean, I've seen it. It's painfully evident. Okay.
And wherever you guys want to go from here.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the Earth being do you want to substantiate curvature? Do you want to talk about space-time, or do you want to talk about the Coriolis effect first?
Up to you. You can go wherever you like.
This is good.
Okay, let's talk about gravity. So how do we substantiate that space and time act as a fourth dimensional fabric?
Well, it's not space and time, it's space-time, this one thing. And we can substantiate.
Wow, seriously? He went to the etymological logical fallacy, because we all know what Caleb's point there was. So he's deflecting, and in his trigger, it looks like he's appearing not to be triggered well, because otherwise, why desperately grasp for an etymological logical fallacy?
Who got their bond revoked? Renee? Who got their see Bob showing the good news about Turtle Boy? Oh wow, Turtle Boy. What? I don't get it. Oh, Turtle Boy. So he had to go to jail, huh? That sucks. Huh. That blows monkey ass, man.
Space and time versus space time.
I thought this was interesting that as they're talking about space time, we have the number 88 is the number of logical fallacies. And we know that the 8 represents time, infinity, right? I thought that was kind of interesting. 88 miles per hour for the DeLorean to go through time, right? 88 keys on a piano.
I mean, wow. I guess, I don't know. I guess this guy's going to be unique in his so-called argumentation. So maybe we should be thankful for that. It might not be boring, even though he just keeps spamming the same 3 fallacies. Although, he's roping in the etymological logic fallacy here. We'll see if it's a favorite of his. We'll see if he continues to rely on it here, if he doesn't have any real arguments.
That by doing experiments following the scientific method, as you like to insist. The scientific method says that if the light from a distant star passes by a large mass, then that light will deviate a certain amount dictated by the curvature of space-time.
The scientific method states that? What?
Right? They always say that.
The scientific method doesn't talk about any of those things. So this guy clearly demonstrating he doesn't understand the scientific method. He doesn't understand dependent, independent variables, or control. He doesn't understand any of this. And yeah, let's see how Caleb responds here. Because let's see if Caleb recognizes the level of mental deficiency he's up against, or if he's simply going to appeal and talk to the audience, because that's I mean, Austin Whitsitt usually does that, but we'll see. We'll see what Caleb does here.
Then we can test that, and that was done in the Edmonton experiment in 1919 and many other times.
So no surprise, this guy is completely clueless about the hoax of 1919 in Edmonton. I went over this.
This is good because they love to bring this fucking shit up. So yeah, pay attention to this. Let me take a look and see what's going on over here in the chat. Boy, we got a lot of people watching here tonight. PayPal me's here. Tennessee Accountability's here. Let's see who else I got. Saddlebone's here with us, no longer on the ball. Let's see who else do I got going on in here. Got Thrash List. Got all kinds of people hanging out in here tonight. Welcome everybody. I just thought this was good, and I'm seeing these Globers are these Globe trolls. I'm going to call them exactly what they are. Whether they cut some kind of a deal or they're doing this to stay out of trouble or whatever the fuck it is, or if it's just a mental deficiency that they have. Oh yeah, yeah. I sent that. Barbara, I sent that to her too. That same thing. Thank you for that too. I have a definition of the word cunt. I think I shared it last night, but that stream's only available without a VPN on another platform called Rumble on my channel, and it's going by down there on the little bottom crawl. It's going by. See there, right on. It's coming up. Rumble channel. There it is. Right now, that's the one you want to look for. Be sure and subscribe to that, because if anything happens to a stream or a video over here, it will still be over there. And of course, we're streaming live there and on the backup channel, Sob's Place. Make sure you are subscribed there as well. Please, I'm giving people a lot of time because I'm going to start doing some stuff exclusively over there for a little bit as well. So make sure you are subscribed to Sob's Place. That can be found on my main page. Or one of my mods can go ahead and put it in the chat if they would. And if you're not subscribed to it, please do. And we'll make sure, so that we can have another place to be. You got to be careful, duck and cover in this day and age of censorship and craziness that we seem to be living under. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to this aspect. This is good. He breaks this down very well.
So extensively on other podcasts. I'll throw it up on the screen. I'll throw it on the screen right here, just super quickly.
Logan, you heard that on Rumble gets to show boobs. Is that true? I don't know. I've never shown my boobs on Rumble, so I haven't tried it yet, but perhaps I will in the future. We'll see. I mean, I have nice boobs. I've been told anyhow.
I believe in the Einstein Debunked podcast on my check, I went over that extensively, and I also went over that on one or two other Flat Earth debates, but I'll throw it up on the screen real quick here. And for those that don't know, they basically threw out all the data that didn't match, and Eddington himself admitted the hoax years later. So, and there was no technology to magically measure the eclipse as they were claiming to, and this ignores all the shifting. I mean, it's just, it would take me an hour to go through all of it again. Just check out Einstein Debunked. Run Zcal completely dismantles all of relativity, but I did go into the history of it on that podcast and a few others. I can drop a link to that as well for those that are interested.
So yeah, we'll go to that. He shows a little bit of him talking about that. We're going to kind of zip through this. But like I said, I put the link down in the description. You all can go over and check that out. And I put it into the chat as well. I'm going to do that right now again. So you can go over and check out that part of the show, because it really gets into it. We were just mainly, I'm liking to see the way these things are going as far as these people are concerned with what they the way our globe trolls are being, I don't know, routed, I want to call it. Like they seem like they're on a route, and what I mean by that, like almost a retreat, which they should be. They should be they're despicable people. I mean, even after you've been given all of the information and dissected it and you still hang on to that fucking ridiculous nonsense, now you're just being a fool. Now you're just being a fool, you know?
They just regurgitate these tenets of their religion as if they're true.
To show that light from a distant star will bend when it gets close to our star, will change its path, the predicted amount according to Einstein's equations.
Do we have the star plates from the observation of 1919?
Do we have the star plates?
Yep, that's how he made the observation, did he not?
I don't have them. What do you mean, do we have them?
Does anybody have them, or did we lose them?
I have no idea.
So here he is admitting the fact. That's an interesting point there by Caleb. He's basically, he went the
Calling
route
the validity
of
out.
verification, so being scientific instead of religious. And I don't know if he did. I mean, I'm guessing here he baited into admitting his religion and just blind faith into the calculations without actually verifying the calculations, or whether they could have even have been made in the way they said they were made.
That's where I came to when I started working out the astronomical unit. And I started looking into, you know, I was sitting there wondering, I was like, how in the fuck they know how far away the sun is? And so I started looking into it. And when I found and really looked at it, and I was like, well, this is nothing more than a bunch of goddamn assumptions. And nothing more than a bunch of assumptions. But the math works out. Well, yeah. You know, I can do some math and make it look like I got $1 million in the bank, but does that mean I do? No, not at all. So, you know, get off that shit. Mathematics is reality. Mathematics are a description. Okay. It's a language. It doesn't prove shit.
Obviously not. And I would have focused on all the data that they threw out. But good point by Caleb. I mean, maybe he will as well. I mean, that's actually, it's kind of hilarious how this young kid is just humiliating this middle-aged scientism goof. He baited him into that one pretty hilariously.
Well, the answer is we don't have them anymore. We've lost them, apparently, due to just a long time from it being observed. And so how do we substantiate without having the star plates that the stars even convex towards the sun in the first place? And also, isn't light massless? Why is space-time being warped acting on a massless thing?
That's my thing right there. That's my thing right there. How in the hell can it it has no mass. What is it? What is its mass? There's no mass of light. That's fucking stupid. So how can it be affected? What is it that's bending? That's stupid. I mean, you don't even have a fucking it's just somebody's fantastical bullshit that they came up with their head, and there's absolutely zero proof of. But as long as they can have their fake fucking space and their solar system and all that dumb shit, then everything's just dandy fine, right? Yeah, okay. So we can just make up whatever the fuck we want to. Oh, well, our equations aren't showing what we predicted would happen. And so that can only mean that, not that our fucking math is wrong, that there must be dark matter. Okay, what's dark matter? Well, it's this invisible shit that nobody can see, quantify, touch, or anything else, but it must be there because otherwise our fucking math would be wrong. This is just the dumbest shit. People that believe this crap.
Okay, two questions there. So the first one is, you can repeat the experiment, which has been done many times. I can provide you with a list of experiments very similar to the Eddington experiment of 1919.
I would be curious to see that list.
Yeah, I would.
Because I've never seen that. I mean, without built-in assumptions, of course, without those built-in assumptions, and without completely throwing out everything that doesn't match up.
Science likes to have repeatable experiments, and it is certainly repeatable following the predictions. And light, although massless, is energy, and as Einstein's equivalence principle shows us, E equals mc squared, energy is equivalent to mass. Which means that it will be affected by gravitational effects, especially when you talk about Einstein, because it's the physical fabric of the space that is warping. Imagine walking on a curved surface. Even if you are walking in a straight line yourself, the curved surface will change the direction that you are going. And because the space-time itself is curved, the straight path of light is changed based on that curvature of space-time. And funnily enough, even Newton actually predicted that the path of light would be altered by
That fucking shit just make your head hurt to think that somebody actually believes that nonsense right there. I mean, just think about that fucking mental gymnastics horse shit that he's talking about right there. That's something you tell somebody when they're tripping just to fuck with their head. You know what I'm saying?
by large masses, although his predictions showed it to be a lot less than Einstein's were.
Wow. Okay. A lot of religious propaganda and dogma stacked there. Wow. So clearly this guy's never heard of Run Z Cow. He's never seen Einstein's relatively completely dismantled. And so Newton also, this guy's just this clueless about all history. I mean, it's kind of.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You got fired. It's because all the different businesses are against you. They have a bias against you. That's why they fired you. It's not. Anyway.
Weird. So
we
I
all
don't even
know
where to start here because I mean, just the level of ignorance here of just the historical timeline, let alone what is being claimed, how, and of course, experiments needing dependent variables, independent variables, and controls. You know what? I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible. Let's go to Walter Lewin, the famous MIT physics professor. I mean, he's got 450 papers, books. I mean, this is kind of, I mean, this isn't that advanced here because we're not talking about things that are so advanced. Like, for example, what would be the difference between gravity's effects and electromagnetic effects, and at what scale? Because even Walter Lewin admits here, and I'm assuming, again, this is my assumption, is that Walter Lewin is a heliocentric globe earther. I don't know the guy personally. I've never seen the question asked of him. He's this MIT professor. I'm assuming that he is a heliocentric globe earther. But whether he is or he isn't, he clearly demonstrates you can use math, you could use whatever you want, that the electromagnetic forces are responsible for everything up to a scale of a cosmological scale. So basically,
it's 10 to the 36 times magnitude stronger than what they call gravity. You can watch this guy. He's got a good little. This is a short little bit with this guy. This is pretty good. He might be a cartoon, Lisa.
basically everything on Earth would not be affected by mass attracting mass. That's if gravity is even real and if gravity exists. And notice how Craig has not provided any evidence of it. He just stacked this house of cards on the religious tenets of modern scientism, completely failing to substantiate any of the cards that he stacked.
Exactly. Didn't even know anything about the star plates. But yeah, Lisa, it has to sound like a cartoon so that globetards can understand it.
So that is curious. So I'll play the Walter Lewin clip for those that haven't heard it.
Notice that there is a clear parallel with gravity. Newton's law of gravity, that the force, which in that case is always attracting, gravity never repels, is the product of two masses. And then you have here the gravitational constant, and again you have the distance square. So there is an enormous parallel between the two. It's a great beauty that electricity acts in a way that is very parallel to the way that gravity works. If you compare electricity with gravity, you will see that electric forces are way more powerful than gravitational forces. If now I compare the electric force with the gravitational force, so I divide one by the other, notice that the d cancels. They both have d squared downstairs.
Right.
And so you will easily be able to show that this ratio is roughly 10 to the 36. So the electric force is 36 orders of magnitude more potent than the gravitational attraction. This teaches you some respect, perhaps, for 802. If these were the only forces that acted on the protons, and you bring them in the nucleus, which has a size of only 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, then the acceleration that the proton will experience is the electric force divided by the mass of the proton. F equals ma, basis of 801.
You gotta have a faith.
And if you take this electric force, when you make d 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, which is 10 to the minus 14 meters, and you calculate this ratio, you will find that it is 26 orders of magnitude higher than the gravitational acceleration on Earth. 26 orders of magnitude higher. So you wonder what the hell holds the nucleus together? If there is such a tremendous force on these protons. Well,
Electricity.
what is holding them together are the nuclear forces, which we do not fully understand. But thank goodness, the nuclear forces are not part of 802. So I'll leave that alone for now. So what holds our world together?
Electricity.
Well, on the nuclear scale, 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, very important are the nuclear forces. On an atomic scale, up to thousands of kilometers, it's really electric forces that hold our world together. The electric forces are way more powerful than gravitational forces. So the electric force is 36 orders of magnitude more potent than the gravitational attraction. It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
So I didn't
There you
hear just saying, so
Electric. That's what I've said. Everything's electric, man. You work on electric, everything, your thoughts, your nervous system, everything works. Everything's held together using electricity, man. It's within this dynamic fluid pressure system. It's amazing. Everything is in this field.
does gravity act upon mass only?
No, gravity is a warping of space-time which can affect energy.
Okay. Where is it said that it can affect energy? Where is that said?
Well, Einstein's equivalence principle, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass
Which
times
is
the
not
speed of
true.
light squared. So mass is energy, effectively. So one is interchangeable with the other under certain conditions.
120 we're up to,
therefore can be
guys.
affected in the same way. And again, only Newton, his descriptions of gravity said that it would affect only mass.
Okay, so is there any evidence of the manifestation of any of this? Also, just because I feel kind of bad for Craig here, because this guy is such a mentally disabled goof, he doesn't even understand. And if he does, I don't know why he doesn't talk about it. Because in the context of this question, and even understanding what the theory is, let alone whether it's true or not, gravity acting upon both mass and energy all comes down to the energy momentum tensor of general relativity. So notice how Craig didn't even mention it. So he's not even like a high level scientism priest. He doesn't even really understand relativity that well, or special relativity. I mean, let's go to Wikipedia. I mean, let's try to break this down as simple as possible. And by the way, I am not like a forefront expert in relativity. I understand the basics of it, which clearly Craig does not. But even just let's just go on Wikipedia just for 2 seconds to understand basic relativity here.
And that's clearly not what he's done. He's just glossed over it. You know, this dude, he's really a joke. Facts, nothing but the facts. I don't believe there's formulas even at MIT level. A lion won't show gazelle how to escape. They won't help or tell us facts. I'm not really sure what that means. Gravity sucks the light from his soul. Very good.
The stress energy tensor, sometimes called the stress energy momentum tensor or the energy momentum tensor, is a tensor physical quantity that describes the density and flux of energy and momentum in space-time, generalizing the stress tensor of Newtonian physics. It is an attribute of matter, radiation, and non-gravitational force fields. The density and flux of energy and momentum are the sources
Right.
of the gravitational field in the Einstein field equations of general relativity, just as mass density is the source of such a field in Newtonian gravity. So we don't need to go any further than this. This is just a very simple, a super simple cursory overview of the gravitational field itself. What is the source of the gravitational field? The density and flux of energy and momentum are allegedly the sources of this alleged field in all of these equations where gravity could theoretically.
Right. We get it. He can't hang. Let's get it back.
They're two totally different subjects. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I said it's the equivalence principle.
I mean, this guy's sputtering now. I mean, this young kid is just calling out the goofery because I mean, this is not a good priest of scientism or relativity. I mean, this guy just doesn't even know the basics of the religion he's purporting is true. So clearly, he's the absolute worst person to be even discussing this.
He's at least a small bit more versed than a lot of them that I talk to. You know, a lot of them, it's like you start to ask him like that tweaker, fucking Tommy. I said, well, you know, what makes you think the earth is a globe? Why do you think the earth is a globe? He says, well, I have to get all my information together. And I'm like, well, why? To know why you think that the earth is a globe? Really? You don't know why without looking at your notes? Come on, man. If you got to look at your notes, you don't know what the fuck you have. You're just looking at what somebody told you.
I mean, Caleb would probably make a better argument in favor of relativity in a globe Earth than Craig can here. And that would actually be a good exercise. I think they should have flipped roles because I think Caleb can probably be way more convincing. And that's kind of a common theme in a lot of these flat Earth debates. The flat earther actually has a greater understanding of relativity and the globe Earth model than the globe earthers arguing it. Now, that again, that doesn't mean the flat earther is correct about anything. It's just they have a greater understanding of relativity and the globe Earth theory. But let me break it down a little bit simpler. Basically, the stress energy tensor is the source of the gravitational field in Einstein's field equations of general relativity. Mass density is the source of such a field in Newtonian gravity. And this is without going into Isaac Newton on what he actually thought about that written in his own words. So we're just going over the modern scientism texts. They attribute his name to that. So
this dumb son of a bitch up to 123 fucking logical fallacies already. This is where it starts to get funny, is because Caleb gets some zingers in pretty good, man. And I like it. I like it. It's pretty good. This guy he's put in his place, and then he mouthed off about it, saying that he beat Caleb in this debate. It was like, it was clear that you did not. And he's all over Twitter dancing around about it and shit. Caleb says, well, let's have somebody do a dissect of it, like Mind Shot, because that's what he does. He breaks down these debates. And he says, I'll ask him if he'll do it. And if he does, you post it on your page, on your YouTube channel. You do a reaction to it and leave it up. You do a reaction to it and leave it up. Well, he hasn't done that yet. Of course, this just came out. Let's see, how long has it been out? Let's take a real quick look. See. Christmas Day. Okay, so give him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what happens. We might be off doing Christmas, but however, I don't know what a demonic looking weirdo like this would be doing at Christmas. But in any case, let's
So
go.
obviously, Caleb asked the question of gravity acting on energy. Craig
What's your problem,
responded
Mike?
with E equals mc squared, the equivalence of mass and energy, but not in relation specifically to gravity, which is what Caleb was asking about. And this is why, again, this guy has to have a mental disability, because he doesn't understand the questions. He doesn't even understand the theory he's claiming is true, and he believes in religiously. I mean, it's almost like a devout Christian who doesn't understand anything in the Bible, gets all the verses wrong and forgot about entire gospels, trying to preach the validity of the Bible. I mean, that's kind of what Craig is doing here. I mean, it's hilarious in one way, but it's extremely sad in another. I mean, it's just so pathetic. I kind of have to feel bad for the guy. I didn't think I'd be feeling bad for this guy, but yeah, I mean, this is rough.
So it doesn't have to do with anything with. So there's
like be considered to have mass in certain circumstances, you would go to E equals mc squared, where energy is mass. So that answers you. It's a lot deeper, you know, and basically more than an undergraduate understanding of physics to get into that deep.
Energy doesn't equal mass. Energy is a factor or a modality of mass in that equation.
Again, if Craig knew even the basics, he would be talking about the stress energy tensor, because that actually addresses the difference between Newtonian based gravity and Einstein's relativity, where the source of the gravitational field is the density and flux of energy momentum itself in Einstein's field equations of general relativity.
Yep.
Mass density, Newtonian gravity. I mean, just to boil it down to these simple terms. But if Craig even knows what the stress energy tensor is, this group's not even bringing it up, because that would address the issue at hand, instead of trying to spam E equals mc squared like some goof who only watched, some little snippets of Einstein propaganda. Everybody knows E equals mc squared, so he's just throwing that around.
Yeah, I know,
without
right?
actually understanding anything of substance behind it.
Intelligence through proxy.
That's the equivalence principle.
So in your mind, energy and something physical are the exact same thing.
But energy can become mass. That's something that happens.
Okay, I'll ask the question again.
Energy.
I mean, that's an interesting dodge. So it looks like Craig, mentally disabled or not, he does have the modicum of mental capacity to realize he's been completely exposed and decimated already. So he can only cope with saying, oh, energy can become mass. But that wasn't the question about gravity acting on energy itself. So all he's doing is deflecting and dodging, proving he either didn't understand the question, or he knows he doesn't know the answer, so he can only sputter in his Dunning-Kruger stupor.
Mass and energy, which energy is not defined in today's terms anyway. Nobody can define the term energy. What is energy? What is energy, Craig?
Boy, here we go.
Done. Well, mathematically, what do you want it to mean? What do you mean no one can define what
What do you
energy
want
is?
it to be?
What do you want it to be? This guy can't even give a definite. Wow, I wasn't expecting this.
No shit. I was looking at that too, man. I was looking at that too, Craig. Or I'm sorry, Iron Horse. I was looking at him doing that too.
Level of mental disability.
Done. Well, mathematically, what do you want it to mean?
Wow. I mean, this is crazy. This guy can't even define it. He answered, "What do you want it to be?" I mean, has this guy just watched the OC so many times that his brain is completely fried? What do you want it to be?
Right.
As if what Caleb wants it to be has anything to do with an empirically verifiable definition. And then he also starts to sputter mathematically.
Done. Well, mathematically, what
does math have to do with it? I mean, when do we learn the definition of energy? I mean, I don't know if this is first grade. This might be second or third grade. I mean, it's simply the capacity to do work. I mean, you can go to dictionary. Let's forget science. Let's go to dictionary.com. The capacity or power to do work by application of force. Energy can exist in a variety of forms: electrical, mechanical, chemical, thermal, nuclear, and can be transferred from one form to another. But I mean, the capacity to do work, I mean, it's so simple. Children know this. And this supposedly functional adult in Craig asks, what do you want it to be?
The laugh is a little bit much. Oh, he uses the same gel as Mary and something about Mary. No shit, right? That's where he rubs his hands back after.
Man, this guy's sinking so fast. I mean, is this the
75 points for
fastest
the obvious
sinking we've ever
disability.
seen?
Right on.
We're not even, I mean, we're just past the introduction here. I mean, we're just getting going and this guy's already sunk. I mean, this is insane. He starts stuttering.
Work done. What work done? What?
Saying mathematics. You can't give a basic definition, just a couple words, like a sentence definition. Capacity to do work. I mean, I mean, I'm actually shocked. I'm actually mind. I mean, I obviously I knew he might have a mental disability. I've seen clips from this guy, but I didn't know it was this severe. I mean, how does this guy function in day-to-day life? What do you want it to be? I've never seen any debate, flat earth or otherwise, where someone's given that dumb of a response. I mean, this is crazy. This is truly mind-shocking.
See how you're not able to define it? What is energy?
And energy is the amount of work done.
What? It's not the amount of work. What?
The capacity.
I mean, you can see the expression on this guy's face. I mean, he's just stuttering and sputtering. Energy is the capacity. It's not a conclusion. So if like a boulder was moved, the amount of energy required to move the boulder was the definition of the energy itself. The amount? What? I mean, this is insane. This guy is literally the most mentally disabled individual I've ever seen participate in a debate. I mean, I don't think it's even, I mean, you know, Sartain might have a mental disability as well, but I mean, Sartain was clearly intellectually dishonest as well. With this guy, I mean, I'm starting to really lean just full on borderline vegetable. I mean, this guy, I mean, what do you want it to be?
Borderline vegetable. This guy's getting fucking brutal, man. He looks like what he calls himself Jimmy Neutron on fucking Twitter. That is, he's FTFE. That's Mr. Neutron to you at FTFE official. And there's a link to his Grinder account. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe there is.
He's giving OC answers. Like, what is this?
Which kind of, it depends on the context that you want energy described. You want energy described in the context of mathematics. You want energy described in the context of mechanical principles.
I want it described in simple terms for a child to be able to understand.
Yes, Caleb. Yes. Let's keep it simple. Obviously, Craig is trying to, dazzle with the BS. And intentionally try to make everything seem so complex because he doesn't have the basics down. So how many copes? I mean, there's not a lot of copes for this situation. You got to feel bad for Craig here. I mean, what other cope can he grasp to? I mean, it's not like he has a lot of options.
It's saying that energy is the amount of work to be done on something cannot be influenced by gravitation. You would agree, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk there. You cut out. I apologize. And energy is literally the capacity to do work.
It looks like he just looked.
There you go. You called it. Who said that? Was that Iron Horse? Was that Iron Horse? I think it was. Let me look back here. I think it was. He called it. Anyway, somebody did. I'm pretty sure it was. But you can see this motherfucker's trying to pay attention, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "What?" And looking over.
looked it up. Did everybody see that? When he moved like his eyes to the side, he looked it up because he didn't know. That's hilarious. He had to look up the definition of energy. This is the guy he's debating. He wants to talk cosmological theories. He wants to talk cosmologies and advanced physics. This guy can't even come up with the definition of energy by himself. He starts talking about what do you want it to be?
I like that. Cylon Killer. Cylon Killer. I like that name. That's a good one. I liked Battlestar Galactica too, man. It was a cool show. I still like those stuff, man, even though I know it's all fantasy and fake and shit. There's no such thing as planets and fucking flying around in space and all that dumb shit. But there's still good stories and shit, and it's good, you know? What the fuck? Why not? But don't go believing everything's fucking true. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of y'all might be really hoping there's some green bitches out there to be doing, you know, I want to be like Captain Kirk and have bastard children around the universe.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this.
That's what energy is.
So how does gravitation affect the capacity to do work?
Well, the capacity to work is interchangeable with mass. Energy.
Whoa. It's not.
Wow.
The capacity to do work interchangeable. No. Obviously, energy can be there could be conversions that take place. It's not just interchangeable, kind of like a word, like big and large are interchangeable words. I mean, you can't say that for energy and mass. You can't just interchange them magically based on nothing. Energy, like the energy doesn't just magically turn into mass. In certain equations, according to theories, they can effectively be interchangeable. Sure, that's completely different. And the fact that Craig doesn't even have the mental capacity to grasp these simple concepts, I have to applaud Caleb here. I have to really applaud his patience. I mean, this is, I don't know how old Caleb is, but this is like, I mean, what is he? Is he a teenager, early 20s, whatever he is? I mean, this is like having a conversation with a 1-year-old. I mean, I don't want to insult 1-year-old. Maybe there are 1-year-olds out there that are smarter than Craig, but there's no processing going on here.
Damn, boy. I'm going to have to look on this Mind Shock. I just came aware of this place today, or when Caleb told him about that, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, that'll be great. And I haven't really been over there and looked at the channel, and I want to see if he's got one on there where he breaks down one with McToon, because, he'd have a field day with that motherfucker, man, and the shit he comes up with. Holy shit, which reminds me, there's a little short video Brian Stabley put out today regarding McToon's alter ego, his cousin that he claims that he has, Flatty McFlatface or some shit like that, and where he's Mandela affected. I thought it was kind of cool, but many of you didn't know that, maybe, that McToon has a cousin who's a flat earther or some shit. I don't know. Fucking retard's what he is. You said older people can't think logically. No, that's, I found that to be kind of true. When people have been set in their ways with illogical thinking, it's hard to get them to go into a logical state of mind. It really is. This is what the Bible's talking about putting new wine into old skins. That's exactly what that whole parable is about, is new information into set ways. And now it's been changed to bottles and makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So
Energy equals mass.
That's what I'm saying. So do you think that mass and this idea of energy are completely the exact same thing? You think that this water bottle is the same as energy, hypothetical energy that can't be defined here?
Well, you could define everything in that water bottle in the terms of energy.
No, Lisa, I not 100% agree. I agree that if a person has been concreted in logical delusions for their entire life, believing that they're true, it's hard to convince her. It's hard to give them any new information because they're already concreted into that. You'd be surprised how many people that I run across that are still stuck into the Newtonian gravity and don't know that they're supposed to be onto this bending, warping of space-time shit that's even worse than the Newtonian gravity, but that's another story. And it's because they've been concreted into that, I'm going to call it what it is, philosophical mindset for so long that they can't think around it. Because once you've trained your brain to think illogically for a certain number of years, it's going to be wired that way. You're just going to be an illogical person.
And notice how he didn't answer the question. He asked if you thought it was the same thing. So that's a yes or no type answer. Unless he thinks it's a malformed question, in which he should address that. But instead of failing to answer, because if it's no, then this. If it's yes because of this, or it's a malformed question or fallacious question because of this, he did none of those things.
So you think they're the exact same thing? It's a very simple question.
Yeah, I just answered. All of the materials in that bottle can be defined in the terms of energy.
Okay.
So he still didn't answer the
And he's looking over at his fucking screen again for whatever
question. So you really know who you're dealing with here. Because someone who had even just a basic understanding, again, they would say yes because of this, no because of this, or that's a fallacious question because of this. And he did none of those things. I mean, it was almost like a politician answer there. Because, I mean, I don't know. Does that point deception? What do all the listeners think here? Does everything? So what are the options? He has a mental disability and he's being intentionally dishonest. So the very few concepts that he does comprehend, he's going to be dishonest about them anyway. Is that the solution here, not to fall for false dichotomies?
So
he could be brain damaged and fucking willingly doing this shit, both at the same time.
Let's talk about the space-time fabric. So you said that we can make observations. That's only one step of the scientific method. Other than making
apparently, Lisa, you didn't understand what I said. Once again, taking it out of context. Go back, listen again to what I said.
Observations, and even if you look at the star plate from 1919 from Arthur Eddington's observation, some of the stars are moving away from the sun. I don't know if you saw Robert Bennett. Either way, there's a PhD that's been talking with Wits It Gets It, and he's been exposing that the star plates didn't even show that all stars tended towards the sun. Some of them moved away, some of them moved horizontally. Not all of them are tending towards the sun. So I'd love to see an observation that shows every single star and the light that's being emitted from it curving towards the sun because of space-time. And either way, it's a begging the question fallacy where you're assuming that it's because of space-time. It's just as equal for me to say, oh, no, there's actually unicorns up there that are tied to the sun that are pulling in the light towards it. As long as the math works out the same way, it's basically the same assumption that you're making, that it's space-time gravitation.
Okay, you do realize.
And that's it right there, too. Well, see, this is doing this, so that can only mean. This can only mean. Where do you get this fucking shit from?
That's that assumptions aren't a problem in science. In fact, it's kind of a foundation of science. You have to make an assumption. That's what hypothesis is, to be able to test something.
Right. And you take and eliminate those assumptions to be either no longer assumptions or making to show that they're either true or they're false. Okay. And how do we do this? We do this through the scientific method, which is circled up here, that you have to have. Okay, here's your hypothesis. This is what we're talking about. Now, with our experiments, we have to have independent variables, dependent variables, and controls. You don't have any of that with your bending of space-time. You don't have any of that with your gravity. Okay?
So, okay, I think he just answered my previous question. So it appears that he does understand what the word assumption means by this response. Now, obviously, his response completely deflected and dodged the point that Caleb is making there. Because if math works out a certain way, where these are actually Austin Whitsitt is again another guy who's pointed out that these are a lot of the times these are post dictions, not predictions. So you think something is a certain way, something is X, and then it's reverse engineered to match it with literally all opposing evidence being thrown out, all admittedly in terms of the hoax of 1919. So not just done, but admitted to be done. So it's not like they were even hiding the fact that they were throwing out all non-matching so-called evidence of these fallible observations made using fallible human technology. Because there's different conditions, they couldn't even really get the observations properly. That's another thing. Goofs like Craig, a lot of these scientists and cultists, they hallucinate that humans are infallible, human technology is infallible, therefore all measurements and calculations are perfect anyway.
And all measurements and calculations were perfect the first 6, 7, 8 times that they calculated the astronomical unit too. You see, this fucking thing of deifying science as though it's some kind of goddamn entity, you know, this is their god, and it's just a method, okay, of which you're not following at all. So even to call this shit science is blasphemous to science, I would say, because it's not.
Like, it's such a weird hallucination by these goofs to just pretend it's all infallibly done, even if all these people are honest, which they are not, and Eddington admitted that as well. All admitted on record. So it's not like this is just random theorizing and speculating. All admitted on record. So regarding post-dictions, so yes, as Caleb stated, it is a begging the question fallacy. It's also a circular reasoning logical fallacy, a false dichotomy fallacy, and a false cause logical fallacy. These fallacies are all related. If you haven't looked at the Logic 101 podcast I did on Mind Shock, it was the lead up to the Flat Earth debate between Flat Earth Dave and so-called Professor Dave.
Yes.
One of the greatest decimations.
You know, that is the higher you go with the academia aspect of people, the more, you know, the more indoctrinated, as we call it here, the more believing in that bullshit they were. I mean, that's no kidding. And they think that gives them that they are more right than anybody else. And it's like, well, we're kind of finding out that that wasn't the case. So be careful how much stock you put in quote unquote education.
In debate of all time. So yeah, these fallacies are all related because people are hallucinating that it's not just about an assumption of a prediction. It's about building a house of cards of assumptions and then making certain conclusions based on a house of cards. So none of the pillars are actually legitimate or science-based.
That's exactly what I've said before. They use this term standing on the shoulders of giants. But if some of those quote unquote giants are jesters, one of them motherfuckers or more are going to start dancing sooner or later. And that whole thing going to come down, as we are seeing in recent days. I mean, that's why I'm confidently predicting that there's going to be a tipping point in this coming year.
And so Craig here is deflecting. I guess he has no other way to cope here at being completely exposed as this goof, but clearly he understands what assumption is. He's saying it's not a problem. It's a problem if you care about the truth. It's not a problem in terms of a very small part of the scientific method. Yes, you're going to assume something, this is true, but that's why dependent variables, independent variables, and controls are so important. So you can see whether your methodology is valid in whether or not the assumption is true or not true, what it would look like otherwise. And you notice how Craig is just avoiding the components of the scientific method, the critical components, other than the assumption. He's avoiding them like the plague.
This guy's voice is almost like Nick Volt's. Only this guy says smart things. Did you guys notice that? This is what Nick Volt might sound like if he was actually smart.
But Caleb, calm, cool, and composed here. So pretty impressive showing from Caleb here thus far. I actually think he's letting Craig off the hook here, but maybe his strategy is just to let Craig sink himself, which he's doing so severely here. You know, you can't really fault Caleb for that.
And you can call it what you want. Space-time is just a name that they've given it. You can call it unicorns if you like. That's fine. I will call it Bob. It doesn't.
So now he's going with the non-congruent argument logical fallacy. The point wasn't that they were unicorns.
He missed it. He missed it. He said that the point is that there's no verifiable fucking proof of your independent variable for that.
Wow, I mean, this is kind of insane. I mean, he's actually spinning not just the non-congruent argument, but also no true Scotsman, as if saying something calling something space-time. That's not the argument. That's not the variable. He completely missed, possibly intentionally, because he doesn't understand what the scientific method even is, or just basic logic. That's why I always advocate to start the debate off with these points. Because if it's even on the screen, it should be on the screen, just the major fallacies, like maybe 5 major fallacies, and the scientific method with dependent variable, independent variable, and control highlighted. So that way anybody, like a lot of these goofs like Craig, would they feel even more silly spewing the nonsense coming out of their mouth when there's something on the screen clearly demonstrating how everything they're saying is nonsense, because it's not aligning scientifically. It's just everything they're saying is religious dogma.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Have a graphic like that on the screen during the debate. It's like, look, you're not even following this fucking shit. Okay. So, I mean, I think that might be not a bad idea.
And it's so anti-science, but they're pretending it's scientific or legitimate.
Matter the name. The fact is, the prediction is that when you go and look at something, i.e., this thing will happen at this particular time and place. So, if you want to go through the scientific method, the observation is, I don't know, things accelerate towards the ground on Earth at 9.
Look how he completely missed all the points, possibly intentionally. It's not, Caleb is not disputing that something happened. We're talking about why. The very foundation of science is not about, oh, you predicted something would happen. Why is it happening? I mean,
that's the exact thing. I was on this on a thread in Twitter today, and these people just can't get that. You know, it's just as bad as Neil Tyson dropping his mic saying, that's gravity. No, that's an effect, and you're calling it gravity. What the fuck is gravity? They don't know. It's just something we have to have in order to have all our fucking fake space and shit.
I mean, that's why you have the entire scientific method, so you don't just say, oh, it was God. Oh, it was demons that caused it. That's the whole purpose of science and the scientific method. The why, not just because it happened to turn out a way of an assumption.
8 meters per second, roughly, squared.
Yep.
My hypothesis is that it's because the fabric of space-time is curved by the large mass of Earth, and it will affect the path of objects and light. So how do we test that? Well, if that's true, when the light from a distant star passes our star, it will, according to these calculations, change its path a certain amount.
Well, what calculations? What fallible human calculations using fallible human technology based on a house of cards assumption? Because how do you know the distances of those stars?
Come on, bro.
So again, just a fundamental lack of understanding of just even basic common sense. I mean, we don't even have to go to, we don't even have to really get into logic 101, reason, critical thinking. We don't even have to go there. I mean, this is children's level common sense. And Craig doesn't have it. Like, how can we really? I mean, this is just getting real.
This motherfucker's up to 158 logical fallacies. He's just stacked them, man. Big. It's still not a record from what I understand on this channel anyway. But boy, howdy, huh? Holy crap.
Really rough. I mean, this is.
He's been
rough.
Strangely silent, too.
That's a prediction based on the hypothesis. So you go and look at a particular time and place when you're able to do that during an eclipse, and you're able to see the stars that are close to our sun and test that prediction. And it's something that can be done over and over and over again. The observation is part of the experiment. The experiment can be going to a certain place at a certain time and seeing if a prediction takes place.
So again,
you still don't have a cause.
Mayans did this with eclipses for thousands of years into the future with their flat earth cosmology. So that according to these goofs' own so-called logic.
I like that, cosmology.
I'm hesitant to call it that. But predictions do not mean anything unless you can verify all of the aspects of
Well said, my
your
man.
so-called experiment, you can verify all of these variables so you don't fall into these false cause logical fallacies, false dichotomy logical fallacies. Because if you're wrong, you also don't know why. Just like if you're right, you don't know why. There could be 10 different models of Earth. How would each look different than the other? And again, if Craig understood what the scientific method even was, which he clearly
Right.
doesn't, he would understand the modulations, the manipulations of the variables to prove what is alleged. Otherwise, you're just talking about, oh, this psychic has a better track record than this other psychic, so the house of cards they built must be more legitimate than the other house of cards. I mean, this is the level of goofery Craig is at.
So you just admitted that it's just as valid to say that unicorns are pulling the star's light towards the sun. So you would have no way of substantiating that the fourth dimensional fabric called space-time exists in any physicality anyway, right? You can't substantiate that, correct?
You can call it what you want. You can call it unicorns if you want, but the predictions of the thing that we call space-time
Wasn't what he had. He said, can you substantiate the physicality of this space-time that you speak of? No, you can't, because it's made up and it's stupid.
If why is the case.
And notice how he completely dodged again. I mean, this guy just can't give a straight answer to save his life. And that's for a few different reasons. But the main reason, he doesn't even understand his own religion that well. So he's just diverting and dodging. And
that's why I say, man, this fool must be doing this shit. There's got to be something, man. There's got to be something, man. And it can't just be money. Because there's better ways to make money than that, man. You know, although like the man pointed out, man, he said there's some people degrading themselves all over on the internet for money. So I don't know, maybe, but my gut tells me these guys, they have to do this shit. They have to, they have some kind of fucking deal going on, man. Absolutely. And I think they got in trouble for something. I base that just on the creepy vibe I get from these motherfuckers, man. You know, just like, there's something off on this guy, man. I don't know what it is. And, you know, and I get that with people, man. I mean, the first time I ever laid eyes on Hillary Clinton, a chill ran down my spine, and I did not know what it was, man. I was like, there's something ain't right about that broad. There just ain't something fucking right about her. I didn't even know nothing about her, but I just like instinctively knew. I got something down in me, man. Gives me a total creepy vibe with these fucking guys, man. And I'm saying, man, they got in trouble for something, man. I think they got in trouble for something, and they're doing this as a part of a deal or to stay out of having to pay another price for it or whatever. I don't know, man. But in either case, they ain't legit. I can tell you that much.
And deflecting. I mean, it's just kind of hilarious to see this level of cope. I mean, I don't know if we've seen it in any other debate thus far. Because he's saying it doesn't matter what you call it, where Caleb wants to focus on the legitimacy.
When did Craig take a polygraph test, Cylon Killer? I'd be interested in seeing about that.
Of the claims, whereas Craig is just proving his level of mental disability and his allergy to actual science and logic by saying you can call it unicorns. Like he's basically admitting that, but also notice how he didn't say those words. He just went into his Dunning-Kruger spiral of repeating what he said before without actually giving a straight answer.
Okay. Test that prediction. That's what we're doing.
No,
science, as you insist, with
that's
the science.
That's not science.
Steps. Well, it is because it follows
no, it's
the
not.
Steps.
So my
the steps of the scientific method, which he doesn't know, because if he knew the steps, he'd be talking about dependent variables, independent variables, and controls instead of skipping over straight from assumption, from hypothesis straight to observation conclusion, completely skipping all of the actual critical steps that make it scientific. I mean, have we ever seen anybody this dumb in a flat earth debate? I don't believe we have. I mean, even Sartain, Sartain is one of the dumbest humans I've ever seen debate anything. He seemed to have a higher level of mental functioning than this guy.
My theory would be just as valid.
Dude, this is not looking good for Craig at all. I wonder if Craig is going to actually do this and react to it, maybe, and put it up on his page like Caleb challenged him to. He should. if he's honest, but we already know better, right?
Valid as yours, right? You would say that my reference frame and my theory why light tends towards the sun, being unicorns pulling it too, would be just as valid as yours if the math worked out, right? It'd be just as valid, correct?
How would you test that theory?
How do you test space-time?
I would something similar to the Eddington experiment.
That's an observation. You're not testing it. That's an observation.
Explain how it is an experiment as well.
Wait, Caleb's saying it's not an experiment. And Craig asked him to explain how it's an experiment as well. I mean, Craig can't even follow basic first grade English here. How can this be a productive debate of any kind?
Okay, that's what I'm trying to walk you through your logic. I'm not saying that unicorns are pulling the light towards the sun.
That's Caleb's problem right there. He's trying to pull a mentally disabled individual through their logic, which is obviously a lack of logic. So that's Caleb's first mistake, unless he's doing this for the audience.
It is. They cannot. This is something I've noticed this amongst these fucking globe people. And Ball's bad with this too. They're unable to make correlations between things. So you cannot use similes with these fucking people at all. That you can't. They can't correlate a simile to something in reality. And in most cases, that's usually the best way to describe something to someone, is to put it into terms that they can understand in everyday life, things that they usually are familiar with, you know. And you really have to spell this dumb shit out with these people. You really do. It's terrible. And I wonder, it's got to be. And they took them, they were the most programmable. They took this bullshit. And of course, that's the ones, oh, you're smart. Here's a paper. And so consequently, they're really believing that illusion. They really do think they're smart, and they're not. They just regurgitate a bunch of fucking nonsense that was pumped into their brain against their will, by the way. Now, in some cases, people get such a strong sense of Stockholm syndrome that they'll go pay money and become even further indoctrinated, go in debt to become even further indoctrinated. In fucking insane.
But I don't know. Caleb's coming off as like a genuinely nice guy who's trying to help Craig. But if Craig is so far gone mentally, like, you know, how much can you help somebody in a vegetative state in a coma? I mean, there's just the mental capacity
God damn, bro,
to have a conversation, let alone learn something. It's just not there. I mean, look at Craig's face. It's just not there. Again, this isn't part of my argument on flat versus globe or anything, or even part of that's why I always link logic and psychology. I know a lot of people kind of want to stay purely on this is the strict definition of this fallacy, this is the scientific method. But if we're talking about analyzing a debate with human beings, human psychology is going to be a factor. And that's why I always talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect, narcissism. All of these things are huge factors, I would say just as important, if not more so, than the actual validity of the arguments themselves, because what is the goal here?
Right.
It's not just pure black and white. This is true, this is not true. It's how humans process information and why to learn from it, which is one of the whole reasons mind shock exists. So again, Craig, the mental capacity is either just not there. I don't believe, this is just my opinion, not part of a logical argument, I don't believe Craig is a good enough actor to not be mentally disabled. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the establishment has such a high budget that they got this phenomenal actor known as Craig, and they just employed him to shill for Globe Earth, again, as part of the Flat Earth PSYOP, which I allege is defending the Globe model so poorly as to increase Flat Earth membership to destabilize society. Again, that doesn't mean Flat Earth is true or not true. Nothing to do with the conclusion of that. Simply destabilization, rolling in the New World Order, etc., etc. This is done in many ways. So perhaps Craig really is that good of an actor and he deserves an Oscar. Maybe he is. But just from looking...
Kind of like Tom Hanks doing, you know, Forrest Gump or something, you know, but never go full retard, Craig, right? You never go full retard.
Looking at it and analyzing all this debates, I mean, this really seems just to be a guy with a severe mental disability, but let's continue.
I'm saying there's no way to experiment and verify either assumption. Therefore, they are not validated by just looking at the stars and their moved position.
I mean, I'm sorry, I gotta stop it again, but how pathetic is it that Caleb has to walk through
Yeah, man.
first or second grade science with a supposedly functional grown adult?
Right.
I mean, how pathetic is it?
What it says, yeah, this is the thing right there. And you know what it is? Prisoners of the left brain, man. Prisoners of the left brain, the left-hand path. Think about it, man. The right hemisphere of the brain is the God side. You have to nurture that, man. If you're stuck completely in that left-hand side, baby, I'm sorry, that's the left-handed path, babe.
That Caleb even had to say what he just did. I mean, I don't know if I can get over that. The fact that he even had to explain that simply making an assumption and observation is not a valid scientific experiment or valid scientific methodology. The fact that he had to, and look how confused Craig is. I mean, he's like looking to the side. He doesn't know quite how to mentally process that. I mean, this is the bleeding obvious to such an obvious. I mean, how could it be dumbed down even further? Again, is this simply like trying to have a conversation with a coma patient?
Which, again, if you look at the star plates from Arthur Eddington in 1919, not all the stars move towards the sun. So I guarantee if I look at all your other observations, not all of them are moving towards the sun either. So again, your theory falls apart just by looking at the evidence.
Okay, so
so we got 7 zingers and 2 logical fallacies work against Craig's 175. Now, what you have to understand is we're not even fully into this thing. And, you know, as you can see, there's only about 7 or 8 minutes left in this video. Was there a part 2? No, he didn't need that much. This was only about as far as he got, but it's still pretty interesting. I love the guy's commentary, and it's touching on a lot of shit that I've speculated with these guys. And I'm going to look and see if I can find one where he breaks down a McToon debate, because that would be fucking fantastic, right?
Yeah, it is an experiment. The fact that you predict something to happen at a particular time.
That doesn't make something an experiment. So this guy doesn't know the definition of experiment either. He doesn't know the definition of science. He doesn't know the definition of science, experiment, and he had to look up energy. I mean, this is really.
You think part 2 is coming, or is he saying?
Then you go and check that thing at that time. Is that experiment?
God
no, it is
damn,
not.
178.
Again, I mean, is this guy this utterly clueless? He doesn't understand what dependent variables, independent variables, and controls are, let alone their role in making something scientifically valid. This guy might be just the poster child for scientism and the Dunning-Kruger effect, because all he has is his blind faith in the authorities. They told him this was the assumption and this was the measurement, therefore it's true. Completely abandoning the scientific method, because the scientific method is all about dependent variables, independent variables, and controls. So you can see, you can modulate, you can manipulate the variables to get different results based on different theories, so you would know what the true cause is instead of hallucinations, which is all Craig has.
It's
No, that's not an experiment.
Please don't interrupt me. You've even got an IV and a DV there. You know, it's very simple. So it is an experiment, whether you like to say it or not. That's why it's called the Eddington experiment of 1919.
You can call it anything. You call it the hoax of 1919.
Mm-hmm.
Calling it the hoax of 1919, that doesn't make it a hoax. What made it the hoax was the fact that they dismissed all the observations that didn't match, didn't have definitive controls, didn't manipulate the variables, didn't have accurate technology to make the measurements they were purporting to measure, and admitting the bias from the outset. I mean, just the level of mental disability here by Craig, I don't know if we've seen anything like this. So I don't think he's going to unseat Sartain in terms of the amount of fallacies and the Dunning-Kruger champion, but he's clearly much more severely mentally disabled than even Michael Sartain.
Dude, That's pretty harsh. I mean, he's calling this guy mentally disabled, and just judging by what I've seen of Craig, he's not going to take that well, if he dares even watch this. But apparently he's watched others, and he, as the guy said, he showed up in the chat and he showed that he was kind of a retard. So,
And as for some of the stars moving away, yeah, that's actually part of the predictions, because the stars do have their movements naturally throughout the night, but only the ones that were extremely close to our star, the path of the light coming from.
How does he know how close or far any of the stars are? I mean, where's the verification of the distance? I mean, does he just have hallucinations, blind faith in this religion of scientism? I mean, how does he know these distances? Because someone said, someone claimed? Where's the verification? So he's just stacking this house of cards. And he even has pride in stacking. Like, look at the level of mental disability on his face. He's actually proud of this religious blind faith in distances, because he's just assuming it was all accurate and building assumptions on top of assumptions while hallucinating there's nothing wrong with assumptions, while not knowing what the scientific method even is.
That star past our sun, only those ones were predicted to move a noticeable amount that would affect their normal movement. The other ones had movement that was more than the movement that would have been applied by the light from them passing near our star.
What is the difference between an observation and an experiment?
An observation could be an experiment if you make a prediction for a thing to happen at a particular time.
Wow.
that's not a fucking experiment. This guy, wow. Come on, man.
Wow. I'm going to need a break here, people. I'm sorry. I
194.
I can't do this. The guy doesn't even know what oh, man. I mean, some definitions, I look for this little simple website, like for children, like sciencebuddies.org. I mean, it has step by step on what is the scientific method. How is it tested with an experiment? What are variables, dependent and independent variables? What are controls? I mean, even on sciencebuddies.org, you can look at writing a hypothesis for your science fair project, and it'll take you step by. I mean, this is things that Craig doesn't even understand. I mean, these are basics. These are such basics here. I mean, just going from here, whether it's a fair test, you change only one factor at a time while keeping all other conditions the same. And scientists call the changing factors in an experiment variables. Independent variable is the one that is changed by the scientist. Dependent variables are the things that the scientist focuses on to see how they respond or change, or to the change made by the independent variable. A control variable are quantities that a scientist wants to remain constant, that he or she must observe carefully as carefully as the dependent variables. So again, this is on sciencebuddies.org. I mean, I know Craig is mentally disabled, but if he spent at least 5 minutes just learning the basics instead of humiliating himself like this, like what is the amount of money somebody would accept to humiliate themselves publicly like Craig is doing right now, not even knowing what a scientific experiment is versus a non-scientific experiment? Like, clearly demonstrating he doesn't understand variables or variable manipulation or controls. He doesn't understand the role of technology in making observations. He doesn't understand what even a house of cards is and how any of the frame of even the experiment is verified, like the distances of stars. I mean, what would the average person take? How much money would it take to publicly humiliate yourself like Craig is doing?
There you go. Yes.
I don't know.
How much would you have to make to publicly humiliate yourself? Well, he doesn't look like he minds being publicly humiliated. Look at this choice and the way he wants to look. He puts his hair in the most unflattering hairstyle he can think of, wears lesbian glasses, and he's got obnoxious plugs in his fucking ears. What the hell?
But I need to take a break, guys. This is going to be a two-parter. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do this in one go.
He did say it's going to be a two-parter.
Break from this level of goofery and mental disability. I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. So I will finish this one up hopefully next time. So yeah, I mean,
have to
I just
keep
need
my
a little
eyes peeled
break.
for
Give
that
me
one.
a little bit more time. I'll do the second part.
I thought
But
I was
this
subscribed.
was
What
just
happened? I got
really rough.
unsubscribed.
Hope everybody out
Keep
there
my
enjoyed
ass.
another edition of the Mind Shock Podcast. In this logical analysis, you can help support our podcast, donate to our PayPal, help us get more logical analysis out there. Logic and reason, obviously, going extinct in this world.
He's got it there, boy. I'll tell you what, but that's for real. That's how it is. And you can see this is the way each and every one of these guys does here. So what's going on there with Nick? Why doesn't he just use his why don't you come in as Harwal, or what's it, Harneet, or whatever your name is? It's a really crazy name, man. What's it mean? One who puts gerbil in anus. That's what it means. Anyway, let me look down here in this guy's channel real quick. I want to see if there's some any good McToon people that he's done. Let's see, videos. Boom, 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 boom. Where's he got? What's he got? He's got playlists, community, shorts, lives. I'm not sure if he moderates debates or what he does. So I don't know. I'll have to check into it. I want to have to do a search and see if he does a breakdown of any McToon debates, because I guarantee you there is a psychological profile that's going along with these guys for real, you know? So what's been going on over in? So yeah, Nick, you were supposed to come out here, bro. You were supposed to fly into Dulles and rent a car and come to the Mims Lynette. I was there. Go look on my videos on my channel, and on there you will see a video of not only a short of me driving, driving to the Mimsland, but also being there at 7:05 p.m. when you were supposed to meet me. But I think you got a snootful, and your girlfriend or your boyfriend got angry with you and wouldn't let you go. So you had to go out and buy a Valentine's gerbil, right? Or something. So that's where you're at. Anyway, I did notify FTFE of that video, so he would be able to watch it. Got some other cool shit on here too. Just to keep you in mind, find out. I like to keep you apprised of things that are going on at NASA and the like. And so this is a rule they have there. The first rule of spacewalk is you do not piss in the pool. So those of you that are new and don't know, yeah, space is fake, babe. Space is fake. They do all that shit underwater when they're outside. And when you're inside of it, it's all mock-ups, Vomit Comet, zero-G planes, bullshit harnesses, CGI. Crap. Because the real money's not going into putting in people up in space, okay? That's not where the money goes. The money goes into these black projects, right? And no, I'm not talking about like, you know, the black projects, the hood and shit. I'm talking about secret weaponry like smart dust and active denial systems and directed energy weaponry and shit like that. That's what the money's going for. And some of it's going also to putting these magical garbage cans on balloons and floating them up into the air. They do this all the time. NASA's the largest consumer of helium in the entire world. And I think I have something on here about that. I'm gonna take a look, see here. Just a minute. No, that's for later. Yeah. Here's your little dune buggy. It's a fucking remote control. It's you can tell. Watch. This is crazy shit. You can tell by watching this dumb shit. Watch this. That shit ridiculous, man. Watch that little guy come by, man. It's a fucking it's a remote control. Look, who's filming this anyway? Look, it's a little doll. That's all it is. Look at that. People believe that dumb shit too. They're, oh yeah, they had a dune buggy up there in space on the moon and shit. So you guys want to see how much you can trust your fact checkers? Everybody's putting fact checks, right, on everything. Everything you go to now has got a fucking fact check. Some of them are so pathetic they just go nuh-uh. And it's like, oh, okay. That sounds cool, right? But it's been said that Klaus Schwab had called for AI to replace elections. And it's got a lot of people freaked out, right? And of course, fact checkers come in and they say, no, Klaus Schwab never said any such a goddamn thing. Stop, blah, blah, blah. Here's a fact check sticker, blah, blah, blah. Well, we find out that's not absolutely true. Okay.
Klaus Schwab didn't actually say we can do away with elections, did he? Oh, thank goodness. The fact-checking organizations AP News and PolitiFact, which are very trustworthy, when you Google this clip, they straighten you right out, clearly saying that Klaus Schwab didn't call for AI to replace elections. Klaus Schwab didn't call for AI to replace elections. Maybe we should go and watch the clip for ourselves and figure out if we think that's what he said. He was in a conversation with Sergey Brin of Google.
Technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
Man, thank goodness for fact checkers. I'm sure all their other fact checking is just as airtight as that. I'm so glad we live in 2023 when we don't actually need to go and look at primary sources for ourselves, because we can trust these totally neutral organizations to filter information for us so that we know what's real and what's not. So just so all you crazy conspiracy theorists know.
So, no, he didn't say that, but he really said it. So, what the fuck, man? Gaslight.
Klaus Schwab didn't actually say.
Gaslight. At every turn, they gaslight you. It's just how much of it it's. I guess they just figure they keep doing it until you just capitulate. I don't know. I really don't. But it's fucking crazy. Really crazy. Oh yeah. So, this is another from our friend Mike Oxbig, also known as Robot Polisher. I love this guy's shit. He puts out some really good stuff. And I thought this was pretty good, so I thought I'd bring it up and show it with you. So, what do we got? Anger. Uncle Monger is Nick Volt. Now he's got another one. Nuh-uh. Yeah, Uncle Monger is not Nick Volt. Come on, that's not even nice. I wouldn't call my worst enemy Nick Volt.
Nothing is flat in this universe. That's it's guaranteed. Nothing is flat in this universe. God wouldn't make a flat world. I'll prove it's not flat. I've seen it from space.
What's a hoax? The flat earth thing? Yes, that's a hoax. Because anyone who knows ballistics and long-range ballistics know, yes, the earth is curved, and you have to calculate the earth's curvature when you're targeting things at long range. So when you're a sniper and you're firing at a target, at a certain distance, you have to calculate for the rotation of the earth. Oh my God.
I have never had to calculate for the rotation of the earth. Okay? Never once.
Okay, the earth is constantly spinning at 75,000 miles per hour. Hold up, stop. The earth is spinning at a consistent speed. It's spinning, okay? Since the earth is spinning at around 70, I don't know, don't quote
I'm
me,
about to
70
cook
something
you.
thousand miles per hour, the
Look,
target
man, we
that's
will.
requiring it is moving. It's moving either towards you or away from you, which will affect the bullet's trajectory.
You just brought up bullets, right? You said the spin bullets are affected by the spin,
Yes,
right?
spin,
Then
gravity,
why,
spin, and air
wait,
density.
stop.
My bad, go ahead.
Then why aren't planes affected by the spin?
Because planes have a thing called control surfaces. You can continue to travel in a straight direction regardless of how the Earth is spinning because you can control the rudders and ailerons of an aircraft.
Hold on.
Here's the fundamental question I got right here is why in the fuck is the Earth spinning? Why do they think it's why would it be spinning? What would cause it to spin? What motors, what function, where's it getting the energy to do this from? This is the dumbest shit that you could ever think. I mean,
going against the spin of the Earth doesn't change the speed, the time.
Yes, it does.
Continuous propulsion.
Oh my God.
No, it doesn't.
I'm off of it. Doesn't. Yeah, this is simple.
Can we
thing.
not?
Y'all look
Can
this
we
up.
not?
Y'all can look this up.
Are you like
y'all can look this up.
What about all the other planets that we've seen that are all basically spheroid, if you want to call? How do you explain all that?
If you buy a cheap telescope off of Amazon and you look through it, you can see the planets around us are round.
So, Earth is the only flat body in our solar system.
See, that I hate it when they fucking say that. It's like, no, there is no solar system. Stop that. Get off of that shit. You have absolutely no proof whatsoever that anything at all ever orbits the sun. Nothing. Okay? Only cartoons. You have cartoons and that's not proof. I'm sorry. Some of this shit is just so fucking stupid. It irritates the hell out of me, man.
We're not going the flat Earth shit. Like, this is 1,000 years, man. Can we stop with the flat Earth shit? Planet Earth is not flat, dude.
We have never been able, until recently, to be able to go outside of our planet and look back at it. We have GPS satellites all over the place. I looked at Jupiter through my own telescope when I was 10.
How do you explain night and day?
Have you heard of the Coriolis effect? It's the Coriolis effect. Do you know what that is?
But can someone explain night and day?
So if the Earth was flat, a air control radar in New York would be able to detect an aircraft taking off from Moscow. But I mean, there wouldn't be an horizon if the Earth was flat, now would it? I have a simple physics question that should put this all to rest. If the Earth was flat, why do we have to have AWACS?
I just think it's interesting that like flat earthers are expected to be seen as understood as experts on the subject, but when somebody's just casually like believing in in the laws of physics and what is generally understood in the science community by 99% of scientists, they need to hear from an
so was the
official.
COVID vaccine. You know,
Hey,
so was
I'm
the
not-
COVID vaccine.
no
after 2
interrupting.
weeks,
I
disclosed
wasn't
threat.
finished. I just don't understand why they need to hear from a NASA official information that you can simply Google and is everywhere. You know,
They think it's like the Truman Show. It's like the Truman Show. What is the motive to lie? Why would what is the motive? Who benefits from convincing us it's a round Earth versus a flat disk?
How does any flat earther explain how the sun and the moon can both be visible in the sky at the exact same time? Like when you go out of your house, it's 11 in the afternoon. You see the moon over there and you see the sun over there.
Okay, I'm just saying, if the Earth was flat, why does my ship's radar have a minimum
Fuck
classified
your ship's radar. I'm telling you what, they don't want you to know. You ask the question why they don't want you to know it. I'm telling you why they don't want you to know. If you know the Earth is flat, then everyone will believe the Bible.
I believe in the Bible.
The Bible proves that the Earth is flat. And if you know this, then it's not good for them.
There's a
It's
satellite.
not good for the
Look
system.
at that shit. Cartoons.
GPS
Fucking
and radar.
cartoons. That's all they have.
Flat Earth. Planet Earth is not flat. God wouldn't.
you can make an argument. It's respectful to the other side.
The
You can make an argument.
sphere is the optimal design.
No, I'm saying, what's your reason about it?
Oh, there goes the
best
satellite
design for
past
a
the
world?
moon.
It's going to
Come
be a
on,
sphere.
Y'all see that satellite going past the moon? Or maybe it's ET in a basket on a bicycle. Who knows?
You see how triggered the Globetards get when you come up here to step on their whole shit?
So wait, you're telling me every global government and religion is all unified on this same lie?
New World Order, NWO. I also think that this is whole one big show and that everyone's faking it. All the astronauts with families, the videos of astronauts coming back from low Earth orbit and barely being able to walk because of the effects of zero gravity on their bones and their muscles. I just don't think I believe in physics, but I also just don't buy the huge production that it would be just the most insanely massive, outlandish production. And it's easy to believe
it's called a Hollywood studio.
We get it. Everybody's heard your fucking model since the 3rd grade on your fucking teacher's desk. We get it.
And
Just hold on. We get it. We understand your model. We get it.
Like, think about it. Take a step back and think about it. Let go of whatever you were taught, because we were all taught the same thing. And just think, this shit does not make sense when you break it apart.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
The Earth is constantly spinning at 75,000 miles per hour. I have a simple physics question that should put this all to rest.
75,000 miles an hour. See, this is what gets your ass, man. They start blowing this shit, they get mad, and they don't even fucking know the crap that they're supposed to believe. And I feel bad for people like that, man. I see people like that with religion too. You know? Oh my God, so many times I've seen people that are saying they're a Catholic, but they're okay with certain things that are against Catholic doctrine. And I'm like, well, then you're not a Catholic. You either go by what they do and they have, or you're something else. Seems to me that would be in the lines of some sort of Protestant, as you do those in protest of the doctrine of your church, right? So come on. You can find him as Robot Polisher. Look for him as Robot Polisher on Twitter. He's got some pretty cool shit out there. Let me see something here. Yeah, that might get us in trouble. Oh, wait a second. Did I already pass by it? No, I didn't. No, we were already there. Let me get down here a ways. Hang tight. Oh my God, this guy, I couldn't believe it. How is this guy out making? No, I'm not even going to show you about that. Never mind. This platform is fucking touchy. This guy talking about what he allows his kids to do and shit is crazy as hell. Let me see if this is what I thought it was. Check this out. So what's going on over in the chat here real quick? Let's take a look. Let me look over here on. We got Joe Lindian, DTA. What's up? What's happening, my friend? Hit that thumbs up down there. It does help the algorithm. If you can. Doesn't look like I got a whole lot of watchers over there, but also it keeps a record. We have this there if something happens here. And so that's what we like. Isn't it cool? We can sing little songs while we're out here. Huh? So we'll watch a couple more things and I'll shut her down. I don't see nobody coming on up. Let me bring this up. I think this is the one. I may be wrong. It may be temporarily interrupted. We'll see. We'll take a good look-see.
For me, that a field is a sphere of influence. Where can I find that definition?
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if I can get some quick Wikipedia for you.
Only
one instance of the experiment where G has not been derived.
Buddy, in your paradigm, Newtonian mechanics cannot be true for over a century. It's even worse than that for you now. Einsteinian mechanics can't be true. So,
sorry,
was that like this pretend laugh of like illusory confidence?
No, that was real laugh.
Because
Sorry.
it's not working. Really? Okay. How does Einsteinian mechanics explain the galaxy rotational speeds?
Sorry. What is that?
Okay. What about the galaxy?
Yo, this happens every time. My bad, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No.
Let it simmer. Let it simmer. Double before you respond. Just let that simmer, bro.
No.
Think about it. Just think about it for a second. Just for a second. Just think about what he.
Go ahead. There's the link. It's pinned up at the top of each of the chats of both channels. So there it is, babe.
just said to you.
You can do
Before
the
you try
experiment
to.
yourself and get G. Everyone can do it.
Oh my
And
God,
if you-
bro! What did,
And if you have
bro? What did he just say
experimental
to
error
you?
that causes this 7% deviation, an experimental error. So given that the experimental error is 10 and 9%, the first result is confusing. No, it isn't. Otherwise, science would have been discarded. The fact that it hasn't is proof that it hasn't. Sorry, I'm not a theoretical physicist, so I can't. I'm a chemist, so I don't actually work with, quantum mechanics and stuff, so I can't actually give you the crash course on quantum mechanics.
Mercury's
I
parakeet
told him when he
shift.
first opened his mic, I said, don't get emotional. He just keeps getting emotional.
Am I getting emotional? What part of me is getting emotional? What? General relativity has a Pierce curve from one reference frame. So, what? T, the time for the ball to fall to the ground.
Electromagnetic nature of gravity. It's a paper by Constantine Mice.
Yo, you hear them tell you this is the same thing that happened? Yo, why ain't like a Matrix or something?
I've been asked.
Didn't they do this last
Of
week?
course, I'm going to Google something. What?
Hold on, you didn't. I thought you knew about this already. You called it pseudoscience, which means that you researched this, but you're asking us questions about it while calling this a 6th grade space.
No, I'm saying.
So you don't know about the things.
Pseudoscience.
You're asking us about certain things that you don't know
That's
while
what they
calling
did.
it a 6th grade space. Don't you think that you should have a little bit more respect and less arrogance, bro?
No.
So, wait, you're saying it can, but you don't like how it does it? Is that what you're saying?
What? No.
No, it
No, it
can.
can't.
It can predict the motion of celestial bodies, but it uses something that you don't think is cool, so it doesn't work. Is that your argument? I'm not clarify if that's not it. Like, it would not be science. I'm sorry, but that's just how science works. If it can make predictions, even if you think that this is a post prediction, if that post prediction can then be taken, incorporated into a model, and then used to predict something, that's a model of predictive capability.
Can you name one prediction that was made with using dark matter?
No, I cannot, because I'm not a theoretical physicist.
Single time. And admittedly, they don't even know what dark matter is, even theoretically.
Right.
No, he just made that shit up, man. Let's have some dark matter. Because our equations aren't working out for our observations. So that can only mean that there's dark matter. You can't see it. You can't touch it. You don't even know it's there. But it has to be, because how on earth could we be wrong?
Like, I'm not a theoretical physicist, so I can't say yes or no on anything you've just said. Like, I don't know what you want.
Do you understand the concept that I'm saying,
Yes,
though?
and I know
In
that you're not a theoretical physicist either, so, like, whatever you're saying...
Fallacy At detected. least. That is called an appeal to... That's called... This is why we always have these spaces, because we're waiting for one of you arrogant guys to come over here and present an argument devoid of fallacy. And you just continue to do it.
I have no background or, study into theoretical physics, so I cannot say yes or no in anything you've said. Like, that's the end of the argument.
So you don't know. Just say, I've never heard of this. Thank you, Flat Earther, for teaching me something. I'm going to take some time and come back next week with some education on the things that I just learned in Flat Earth Friday after calling you guys a 6th grade space. I know you didn't expect for this to happen, bro. I know you didn't expect for this to happen. Listen, I know you didn't.
said on faith at all. No, I'm sorry.
It's not about faith, but you just admitted that you don't know anything about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we just highlighted, and in the process, we just highlighted all of your fallacies, and you're just disregarding it by saying, nuh-uh, neither you or I are physicists.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I thought it was the flat earthers that are supposed to say nuh-uh, not the guy that's sitting here popping shit in my mention.
I did not want to talk about this because, as I said, I'm not a theoretical physicist, so I cannot give you an education on why you're wrong. I'm sorry. How
in the fuck would you know he's wrong? Holy God, the arrogance of these fucking degree-holding pricks.
You're just assuming that we're wrong, but you can't even understand and follow the argument. By the way, bro, we consistently speak to astronomers and astrophysicists with PhDs, right? And they would all agree with me right now, because what I'm saying is just an objective representation of your position, right? Like, I'm telling you about your belief before we can even get to me falsifying it, because you are ignorant of your own position. Basically, right now, you have a blind belief. You've handed your little brain over to the idea of a group of people that think for you, and you just believe whatever you think that they said. So, I mean, that's cute. I mean, it's just a religion, but we're now teaching you your religion so that we can then show you what's wrong with it. So this like when you force laugh like that, like you force the laughter, it's not convincing anyone.
Right. So hang on one second. Let me get this over here and this back here. Like I had it. So what's going on, Nick? You're having a fucking meltdown over here in the chat. You know, you asked for the link. The link is pinned. I put it in the chat. You have yet to I don't know, what are you doing? Trying to sober up before you come on so you don't look like a drunk idiot again? I mean, do what you got to do there, big boy. Come on, big boy. Where's my gal Dream?
Cite that for me.
You know, where you at, big boy? That's what I'm wondering. You don't know. Fuck him. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I got to give you this one. All right. So, I'll let you go ahead and read along with me. It's great. It says there's no greater indication that NASA has fabricated every space mission since its inception than the preposterous notion of placing an individual in a glorified snowboarding suit into the supposed torr of 10 to the negative 10 vacuum of space. It requires lead walls 11 feet thick to prevent a vacuum 10,000 times weaker than the aforementioned space vacuum from collapsing in on itself. And that's at 10 to the negative 6 torr. Okay. NASA refuses to put an astronaut in spacesuit in a vacuum here on Earth to prove it's possible because they know it's impossible. And yes, the last time they did that, it killed him, or damn near killed him. The guy's fucking tongue started cooking and shit, right? So yeah, this is bullshit. Look at this. You got this little suit on, gonna be floating up there.
They tell us that the vacuum of space is the strongest, purest vacuum. It's called they rate it in torr, and it's a torr 10. On Earth here, we can create like a torr 7 or torr 6 vacuum, and you need like 11 feet of lead walls so it doesn't collapse in on itself when you suck the air out. That's kind of crazy. Okay. Mm-hmm. The astronauts in their spacewalks, which are just utter nonsense if you just look at them, they're in these, I think they're just snowboarding suits with helmets, right? All the seals have to be perfect. Do you know what happens when you put something in a vacuum? It blows up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Before they got into a torr 1 vacuum, they would explode. When you're in space, air is trying to get out of your suit.
So it's the same as down in under the ocean, but like the opposite. Okay. Whereas it would want to crush in on you up there, it wants to pull out on you. It wants to equalize. Okay. This is why water will boil away to a vapor. It's gone into gas in a vacuum or even at low pressure. So, yeah, they would puff up like a Stay Puft Marshmallow. And as I said, the one guy that they did try it with here, it almost killed him. And that was after. You see, you have to understand the Glen Allen vacuum chamber at the Glen Allen Research Facility in Sandusky, Ohio, opened up a full month after the supposed moon landings. So how the fuck did they ever even test the suits, right?
Challenge them. Get a NASA, someone in a spacesuit, put them in a vacuum. Let's see it. And they actually tried it once in like the 1960s, and the guy passed out in like 10 seconds and almost died, right? Because you can't do it. You can't live in a vacuum. It's nonsense.
Nope. And I might add, no such condition.
They tell us that the collapse in on itself when you
without containment, nor does it exist in reality. Okay. Nowhere in nature is there a vacuum. Okay. That's just hogwash, nonsense, and bahui. But if you believe something as scientifically impossible as a globe Earth spinning wildly through the cosmos, then you're apt to buy that horse shit because you would have to. You know what I'm saying? What's this here? It's an emotional trigger point. Oh yeah, that's a little bit long right there. It's a good video, but we'll get into that another night. I am going to. Did I just go ahead? Am I time warping? Am I time warping? Yeah, I am. Okay, cool. Bang. Whatever, right? So hang tight just a moment. So this is an interesting little tidbit I found out on Christmas too. Janet Ossenbard. I don't know if any of y'all, I don't know what she had to say. We'll see what she did. But it said that Janet Ossenbard, the creator of the Fall of the Cabal series that shed a massive light on the elite child trafficking networks and clients, has allegedly committed suicide after being reported missing for weeks. Oh, Lord Almighty, what a surprise, right? Dare we take a listen? It doesn't go into negative numbers below zero. M-Ball, sorry to burst your fucking bubble, babe, but those numbers come from your people, man. There is no such condition in reality, okay? Anywhere. It's okay? It doesn't exist. It's more of your mathematical bahui, and you can't even keep up with your own mathematical bahui. See, that's sad. That's fucking pitiful. Do you realize how pitiful that is? Do better. Do better, M-Ball, please. Come on. The 10 to the negative 11 Tor, those numbers, the 10 to the negative 6, like what they claim it to be at the Kármán line. You don't even know what any of this shit is. Why do I know this and you don't know this? Why is this? What is wrong with you?
Dear friends from all across the world, I have a deeply sad message to deliver. Janet has been found dead after a period of 5 weeks in which she was missing. She died of suicide by taking an overdose of medicine on November 16, 2023. Janet has had a lifetime of struggling against severe depressions and death wishes. A few times a year, she would experience a deep emotional episode. This last time was one too much. She was in the process of dealing with her youth issues, which she wrote about in her blog.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're telling me that the vacuum of space is a positive PSI. You're fucking retarded. It's not even close to a positive Tor. What is wrong with you?
And it seemed like a never-ending story to her. She tried everything. She tried to save others, me included. She tried to save the world with creating Volkball, but she couldn't save herself. Underneath her smiles and silly jokes, she deeply hated life. For me, she meant the world. We were so aligned.
So anyway, that's her friend telling about her, and she's dead now. And I don't know if you're familiar with that series, but it's pretty good. I can put a link to that little video down in the chat. I wasn't sure. I hadn't seen what it was about yet altogether. I just thought that that's interesting. They always seem to commit suicide. Most often in very, very bizarre ways. You know, they shoot themselves in the back of the head twice while hanging, or something along those lines. What is this? Well, this is more of the space nonsense. I love it. I gotta keep all the fucking NASA shit all their green screen fuck ups. I'm putting them together into one video. This is why I download these things, because I just be like that. Hang on a second. Let's see what this is about.
With another astronaut, this Italian astronaut, Paolo Nespoli, as he drops a clip here. Let's take a look here.
An Italian on the ISS, but we
Drops.
also have a lot of Italy on the station.
Now he just turns around. He doesn't know what to do.
How many parts?
And obviously, he drops it in supposed zero gravity aboard the ISS.
An Italian
There he goes.
on the ISS, but we also have a lot of
He
Italy
turns
on
around
the
again.
station.
Now here's super slow, and you're going to see him actually with his right hand kind of hit it, and it falls. With another astronaut, this Italian astronaut.
Uh-oh. Somebody better tell this guy about gravity pockets, right? Quick. Tell him about the gravity pockets, please. You must. You must. How many of y'all are like this, man? I'm exactly just like this. Watching a movie. You can't even watch movies now without fucking, oh my God, look, there's what's going on. Fucking crazy shit. Well, anyway, I just wanted to cover some of that, get with you. Hope you look at here. We're getting, I guess Nick Bolt's not going to come up. What a bummer. Too bad. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and we'll see you again next time here on the Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind channel, also Sav's Place. Be sure you're subscribed. Click that bell notification, and so you're alerted to the videos and shit when they come up. So study reciprocals. Has nothing more to do with it. Look, here's all you got to know, M-Ball. They don't fucking work. The spacesuits don't work in the vacuum. They can't even get close to it here on Earth without so much as killing the motherfuckers. Okay, so grow up, man. Wait till you find out that the Easter Bunny's not real too. It's going to really bum you out. All right. So, Lord loves a working man. Don't trust Whitey. See a doctor and get rid of him because he'll probably fucking kill you. Good night, guys. See you next.